Do you? Got everything you need?
Let's start here in a second.
Channel.
Can you hear us okay? What are you showing?
My channel video. This is my sweatshirt. It's for sale on Sanctified Supply. Okay.
Oh, we need somebody to monitor comments, right?
Right. You need.
All right, I'll do that. Which one do I monitor comments on? I can't remember which phone does it.
I thought you did it on the Apple one. We cleaned up because we knew this was gonna happen. Hey, there is Dusty and Mrs. Hermit Hill from Kentucky. Shalom and Jay Johns and Michigan Prepper. Yeah, hi guys. I'm just gonna let the tension build. Shabbat's over. I hope you guys had a good Shabbat.
Shabbat shalom over.
There's a lot of shaloming going on. There's a lot of peace being passed around. Susan in Oklahoma, Army wife. Hey, kindred spirit. Can we be best friends? Stephen, Patty, shalom. Shout out to Patty Sanchez as a member of the channel. And Stephen, thank you for all your support. You can hear us. Greetings from Mississippi. Sailor 382. What do you got to say about Mississippi?
No, I have a couple friends out in Mississippi. Been there a few times. Not much, but
All right, I got
pretty
cards.
cool.
nice day, yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool. Hey, from Kansas, says Willow Rose Farm. Shalom. Well, MI stands for military intelligence, not Michigan, but I get that.
Because he's got this little logo on his.
I mean, if you want me to say military intelligence, oxymoron, I will. But hey, from Callahan,
Vital
custom
Z.
builder.
IME says, "Hey, Dad and Sister Kate, Micah."
Aww. Shalom, Micah. We've been talking about
We've been talking about you all day. I'm gonna. Oh no, it's not Micah. I have a picture of Nate that we're gonna show later.
Right. Yeah. It's good though. It's good. Don't worry.
Army wife said, "Evening, PJ and Doc, Central Texas here."
Yeah,
Well,
Army
Did
Central
you
wife.
already
Texas.
introduce him?
I already said kindred spirit. Like, are we best
No,
friends?
did you already say this is Doc Jamo?
I'm not. We
Then
haven't
how did
even
they know you
started.
were Doc?
Because I put it in the title.
Oh.
Yeah. So we will introduce him
Yeah, we'll do it all, but in a minute.
in a minute.
Still looking for the going. Yeah, I wanted to do hoodies too. Looking for the Going Noah hoodie. But hey, Jimmy Carr.
Yeah. And there is
Greetings
Steph.
from the Commonwealth.
Yeah. It used to be a wonderful state.
Alabama.
Alabama.
Mark's
Nice.
here. Said shalom all.
Yeah. C103. And Bad Wabbit. I love that name.
I like that name too, Bad Wabbit.
It's really cute, Bad Wabbit. Evening, y'all, from East Tennessee. And there's the lamp keeper. She gets the shout out as a channel supporter. Perfect weather today.
Yeah,
in
it
the
was. If it
Ozarks.
was
much
like
so.
this every day, we could not afford to live here because all the Californians would come. Wait a minute. They already are. And it's already getting too hard to live here. Hey, this is PJ on 4 hours of sleep. I went to sleep last night at 12:03,
Mhm.
just after midnight,
Yeah.
and I woke up at 4, and now it's 8.
Bad Wabbit had rain. Bad Wabbit loves the rain. Sure. Mad Kelt and I were
Wes
discussing.
S is here. That's the Wes I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, he's one of my howdy Wes. Mad Kelt and I were discussing a coop or bust t-shirt idea. Coop or bust. I like it. I like it a lot. And there's Up North Homesteader. Hi from Michigan. You're a Youper.
So see, here's the comments so we can read them.
Okay.
As people are saying, that's what she's doing up close, reading them, and then I'm looking at them here.
Okay, the same one.
I thought
There's
so,
an
Bad
idiot.
Wabbit.
I'm a monitor. I can kill people on here
Okay.
if there's somebody stupid.
And
Right.
so is Wes. The people who are monitors have a little
Have a
wrench.
little blue thing, so we kind of keep order in here in case some trolls get on or something. We
Okay.
just nuke them.
And you invite people to do that.
We're giving Doc Jamo lessons. This is like his initiation by fire to video and YouTube because we're trying to get him to start his own YouTube channel because he has so much to talk about. and
Yes,
to
he
teach.
does. He is very, very qualified. And
How
so
many people you got in?
56.
When do you want to start?
Yeah, right now it's
It's your
good.
channel, baby.
That's
I'm
right.
following your lead.
Live just under the bridge. Oh, maybe you're a troll.
Yep.
Okay, so we will introduce you to our special guest. This is Doc Jamo. Go ahead and see.
Howdy.
He's a longtime friend.
How long, Sister Kate? How long of a friend is he?
How many
long-
years has it been?
How
Yeah,
many
it's been
decades has
20
he? Oh,
About 20 years, something around there.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
20 years, and I think it was Boy Scouts,
Boy
right?
Scouts, yes,
That brought
very
everybody
much so.
together.
Yes.
So he has two very nice sons. We had a son. They were all in the same troop together.
Great
then
times.
good camping experiences.
so in our
interests
troop,
alike.
you were a assistant scoutmaster.
Yes.
I was a scoutmaster. We had a couple other assistant scoutmasters. There were 4 of us men who went on every camp out. And then we invited all the fathers to go, and we camped how often, Jay? Doc Jamo?
Well, we went out once a month.
Once a month. Every month we went camping. And the 4 of us were always there, and then we had a couple dads that would pop in and pop out.
Right.
We have so much campfire time together. It's
A
outrageous.
lot.
And
A
then
lot. He started me out on my journey.
and then we came here to Shofar Mountain before it was Shofar Mountain.
Yeah.
What were you saying today about how it looked when you first came here?
Oh, there was nothing here. Nothing here at all. It was just all natural, raw.
And you were at how many of the 13 annual bug out bag campouts?
12.
So he
I
was
missed one, the snowy one in Kansas.
so you were at every one that was here.
Yes.
And then we did family campouts here with just his family and our family. So we have known each other forever.
There are some really cute comments about this. What's up, Doc? Possible new Doc Brown or Doc Holiday of the Ozarks. Except, yeah, absolutely. And what else have they said? Oh, there was another one. Nice to meet you, Doc, says
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Hermit Hill from Kentucky. So,
Kentucky.
yeah. That's more his area, y'all. So if you're interested in possible connectivity there, you either contact me or like put it in the comment and we'll
And we
talk to
won't
him
tell you.
about that. Yeah, we're not making any promises, but if you're in Kentucky, it's more of a possibility that there can be some contact stuff there. So Doc, why don't you tell us just a little bit about that Boy Scout troop and the camping and the stuff, because he kind of introduced it. And
Well, let me tell a story of what happened. I never did Boy Scouts, and that was kind of a lead in to meet into the meeting Joe and Kate and their family. I never did Boy Scouts growing up. I had a choice. My mom had given me when I was young. I could either do baseball or Boy Scouts, but I could not do both.
Mhm.
So I chose baseball and
And
played all the way
baseball's
through
been
high school.
very, very good to me.
And well, not very, very good to me. So when I had a son, I knew I wanted to put them in the Boy Scouts. I had both my boys in.
Right.
And so we had moved from Tampa to Missouri, up in Northwest Missouri, right on the state line of Kansas, Missouri. And we were looking for a Boy Scout troop. So my son Micah, I kind of, we went from troop to troop. And
I remember the first night you came.
Right.
Yeah,
troop-
and we
troop
came-
shopping, really.
Yeah,
exactly,
well, you have
letting
to.
them, listen and meet the kids and everything else. And then we found the trooping right across the river in Leavenworth. And he liked that one and kind of jived with it. And so he said that's the one he wanted to join. So we did. And then Joe was assistant at that time.
Oh,
So
that's
anyway,
right.
we got involved. We got involved and started getting in the camp outs. But anyway, there was one evening when the kids were going off to bed, or supposedly going off to bed. The evening was calming down, but the adult men were around the fire, and we just get to chat, and that was our chat time. And Joe kind of sat in his chair across the fire, and he looked at me, and he's still trying to figure me out because we didn't know each other very long. And he goes, "Do you know what the scariest sound in the world is?" And I was like, "I don't know. Where's this guy coming from?"
An explosion,
It's
what is
like,
it?
I don't know. Where's he going with this?
Sirens.
And I said, I don't know. What is it? And so he says, having your child come up to you, your son or your daughter come up to you and say, "Daddy, I'm hungry."
Mm.
So I sat there and thought about that, like, okay, well, where's he going with this? If he lets a couple minutes go by, I said, you know what the scariest feeling is, or the worst feeling is? I was like, no. He paused and he says, knowing that you have no way to, the scariest sound or the scariest feeling is knowing you have no way to feed them.
Mm-hmm.
And being a believer, you know, the role of the father and the husband is to be the provider.
Right.
And so in that society, when we're just living from day to day and you know, really don't, you know, I wasn't stocking food or anything like that, never really felt the need to, because you just go right down to the supermarket, not realizing that a supermarket only has, what, about 3-4 days most
Right,
of food, and if anything happened. And so I never even considered those scenarios until then.
Right.
And then we started discussing the topic, and then it just kind of evolved from there, which kind of led me on that journey, which I took very, very seriously.
Yes.
Because I very much love my boys, love my wife, love my family. So
Right.
I wanted to be the provider,
Yeah.
you know, and it's what y'all expected me to be.
Right. And I know some of y'all who watch my husband's channel know he will talk about that. He will let y'all know, like, hey, you need to step up your game. You need to be prepared to be that provider. If you've ever met him in person, sometimes he looks at you and says the same kind of thing, and it's kind of motivating. And
Yeah,
so
very much motivating.
right. And then Doc has done so many things. Why don't you tell him what you first were doing when we met?
Well, when we first met, I was a chiropractic physician.
Yep.
And I had an office up in Northwest Missouri.
Right.
So that's what I was primarily doing, just running a solo chiropractic office.
Right. Kind of naturopathic, helping people out, adjusting people, that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, I remember, I think we were on a camp out here, like a family camp out or something, like your family, our family, and maybe Tony's family.
Yep.
And you decided you offered to do like neck adjustments
Yep.
or something.
He was ready to adjust the whole crowd.
I was raised in a family where my dad had nothing but scorn for chiropractors. And so I had scorn kind of for the art and science of chiropractic. And but I knew Doc well enough at that point that I'm like, I'm willing to try it. And he cracked my neck, and I felt
adjusted.
Yeah,
adjusted. Okay, there you go.
Not injured. Not injured.
No, not at all. But I felt like I was floating, and I felt so much better. I was just like, that is amazing. It felt like mental, emotional, psychic, and I was skeptical when we started. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
And I wasn't scared.
Well,
no, he was. I remember that camp out too, because he's like, just relax your neck, just sit there and let me do this thing and whatever. And I'm like, okay, I can relax, and crack. And it's like, wow, it almost seems like you're assaulted, but then it's like, woo, that feels really good. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful. As a matter of fact, Doc is the chiropractor who helped our daughter after she did her wrestling and her hip was all messed up, and he helped her. And when pastor sometimes overdoes workouts and has thrown something bad and can barely walk, we would talk to Doc, and he knew what he was talking about. It was really good. And then you did a little training for us, right? You did a little, like, I want to help you all. I've got this, and we did stitching, right?
Well, prior to being a chiropractor, as a surgical technologist at that time, and so I picked up a lot of skills in surgery and suturing.
Right. Here's a photo in his book of this actual
This
event.
is Doc, my daughter, his son, in this book, talking about stitching, and they're getting ready to stitch, or they are stitching up.
Right.
That was at Viking Fest.
Yeah.
Right.
In Viking Fest, I taught a whole big.
Yeah, he was
suturing
the
class.
medical guy. He was like, please, we were like, please, can you do something for us? And that's him. Young fella, so go ahead, tell what else.
Surgical what? Tech? What'd you say?
Technologist.
And we did stitching, and I forget what you brought. You brought something for us to stitch, right? You brought
Pig's feet.
Yep.
I went to the local market and asked them to order me some pig's feet.
And back in that day, our son he was young in high school, was thinking he wanted to be a surgeon, a doctor. And so we contacted Doc Jamo, and you took him into the surgery ward.
Yeah, I took him right into just
Like
see a case.
3.
Yeah.
He saw a hip replacement.
Yeah, total
He
hip
saw
replacement.
something where they shaved down a clavicle or something.
Yeah.
But he got my son into the operating room, like getting to watch right up there close. That was so
we had
cool.
him dressed up in scrubs and the mask and the hat, and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, that was cool.
Right.
And introduced them to and the surgeons were discussing what they were doing, showing Joe, and they were very gracious.
No, you were very gracious to make that happen. That was
Yeah,
cool.
it made
Yeah,
a
so he
big
got to watch me
impression.
work. I was actually kind of in there working along with him, and we're talking back and forth, and Joe was asking amazing questions, very, very appropriate questions, very mature questions. And then the docs, even after he left, the docs even made comments saying that he's a smart kid, he can do this.
Right,
Yeah.
and left a big impression on us after that experience. He came home and was talking all about like what they did and how they did it, and it was amazing and so on. So there's history there. We have people commenting who were talking about first of all, their parent was in Boy Scouts like 42 years ago when it was a real thing.
Oh, we
We
should tell
feel
them about
that.
how we ran our Boy Scout troop.
We feel that because that is a different scout thing all together nowadays, right? Go ahead.
So I was an assistant scoutmaster. First I was just a dad, then I became an assistant scoutmaster at this troop. And they didn't camp much, and when they
didn't.
camped,
They were at the
camped-
museums.
they were camping in museums. They were camping inside. And I became the scoutmaster, and
He's got his party shirt out. Woo!
did, like,
Stories are coming. They're gonna start flowing. He's got the party shirt. Go ahead, honey.
I became the scoutmaster, and the other doc was my assistant scoutmaster, and he really should have been the scoutmaster, quite frankly. He was more skilled than either one of us together.
Very experienced scout guy. Yeah.
And I said, we're going to camp every month, no matter what. And I also said, no women are going on the campouts, because heretofore, moms were allowed to go on the campouts. And I said, no women are going. And they were like, okay, we need a scoutmaster. And soon after I became the scoutmaster, some woman challenged me on that. And it went to there's a council above the scoutmaster, and it went to them. And I said, look, y'all do what you want, but we're here trying to turn young men into men. And you don't learn that from a woman, you learn it from a man. And we're not going to let women come under my watch. So you can fire me. And they didn't.
Right.
You want to tell the story about the underwear without using the real name?
No, go ahead. I mean,
Okay.
you tell it.
So soon after I had that fight and won, we're on a camp out. And the way we would do it, we'd drive to the camp out, we'd move into the woods or the area we were camping, and the adult men would always set up so anybody coming from the cars to the campsite had to go through us. And then the boys would camp by patrol, which was like, what, 6 to 8 boys?
Yeah.
Patrol here, patrol there. So we as the adults could see them all, but nobody could get to them without going through us. And so this mom shows up like on Saturday or something, and she goes, I'm here to see, I'll just make up a name, Bobby. And she starts walking towards his campsite yelling, Bobby, Bobby. We're like, stop,
Bobby!
stop. You can't go down there. You have to wait here. She's like, well, I'm just going to see my son. I said, we'll get him. And so you want a seat? You want a coffee? You want a tea? You want a whatever? Because she was drinking gunpowder tea. Remember the other doc would make gunpowder tea? And so we send a Boy Scout to go get him. And he comes back. And, oh no, she's yelling as he's coming. You forgot your underwear, your Superman underwear. She's like mortifying this kid. He's like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And she's like, I have your Superman underwear.
And all the other kids just turned and looked at him.
And they're laughing. And then he comes up all sheepish to his mom. And he was dirty because we're camping. And she goes, ow, look at your face. It's so dirty. And she starts wiping his face and stuff. And then we get her out of there. And we're looking as the men. And I said, that's why we don't let women come on campouts. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. I felt so bad for that boy.
Yeah, he was embarrassed. But the kids, they were a great group of kids.
Oh,
they gave him a little razzing, but they didn't.
And
up
I
on him.
followed some of them through the other doc, because they're all adults now.
Right.
And, they went to the academy, they went in the military, they went and they did this. And I remember you remember Matt?
Yes.
So Matt was young, he was brand new, and two stories from Matt, he comes on a camp out and he had these jeans on. And in the course of that camp out, they were going on a hike somewhere and they come back and they don't have Matt. We're like around this lake pond thing. And the adults kind of keep track, but the boys are in charge. And I'm like, hey, where's your other guy? I don't even know if I knew his name at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, I don't know. I said, go find him. Poor Matt was on the edge of this lake, caught up to his thighs in mud.
Could not get out.
Oh my God.
So that was a learning experience. So then Matt comes, so now his jeans are all dirty. And then somewhere in the course of the camp out, he ripped his jeans, which, you know, that happens.
Sure.
And his mom yelled at me the next week at the Boy Scout meeting. And she's like, you let him rip his jeans, and those are $50 jeans, and da-da-da-da-da, because they're some kind of designer jean. And I'm like, you shouldn't let your son wear $50 jeans on a camp out.
No.
And so then I found a deal in Sportsman's Guide for German Flecktarn camo. And we could buy pants in size extra small, small, medium, large, and extra large. And from medium down, they were $1
Yes.
a pair of pants. So we bought a whole bunch of pants, and then we let the boys buy them for $1. And that was their camp out uniform, was those pants.
Is there one more story? Does he know it?
Well, also with that, we ordered the German mess kits.
Oh yeah, everybody, because the adults were using them.
Yes.
First, we used the German mess kits around our fire, and then we ordered them all for the boys. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, they still got them. What was your question?
The other story about Matt, do you know anything
Well, the
about
one
it?
was he was stuck in the mud, and the other one was his.
His mom. Okay, because anyway, that's kind of the difference between when you go on a Girl Scout camp out and a Boy Scout camp out. Because I remember a troop they were in separately, and I'm taking over because it's my live stream.
It is your live stream, darling.
In Virginia, and our son goes to a camp out, and he comes back with a story of the horrors of them cooking, where the one boy, they either had the heat up too high or they never had it high enough. So when they made things like pancakes, they were either like raw or burnt to a crisp. And
Roger.
Hey Roger, and on one camp out, this kid basically set his hand on fire because the oil was too hot. And something else about that.
There were a lot of burnt pancakes on the outside and raw on the inside, cooked by
Right.
Boy Scouts.
And
And,
then
we didn't save them. They learned how to cook pancakes because this is your pancakes. You've got scouts that know how to do it. Y'all figure it out. And we did the tough love thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And
But
my
again,
son,
they
We
knew.
did.
right, my son said he volunteered to cook the hamburgers because he got the impression he was the only one who knew how, and he wanted it done and not burnt on the outside and raw on the inside. But when we go on a Girl Scout camp out, completely different. The adults have had outdoor cooking training, and so we're to show up with most of the stuff, just a one step, let's cook it, like put it on a Dutch oven, start a
Okie
fire.
Storm Chasers here.
Oh, hey, Okie. Shalom, this is Doc Jamo. He's our special guest. Longtime friend, highly skilled. Anyway,
Okie gets the special information.
well, a lot of people get the special information. You need an update.
He's a cool guy. You haven't met him.
Talking about Boy Scouting and Girl Scouting, we've been friends for a really long time, all three of us. And on the Girl Scout camp out, it's like we cooked omelets in a bag. We just boiled it in the bag, and so when the kids can eat it, they just have a spoon, and you just eat it, and then you take the whole thing and throw it away. Meanwhile, they're setting themselves on fire. I'm just saying, that's just Girl Scouts
Making
versus
memories.
Boy Scouts, right?
So you want to
Making
talk
memories.
about our Boy Scout uniform? Because so many people tell me like Boy Scouts aren't allowed to carry sheath knives and stuff like that. I've been told Boy Scouts can't wear camo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you want to tell them what we wore? What our boys ended up all wearing?
Yeah, it was just a German Flecktarn, like you said.
Well,
That'd be
what they
cool.
also did is the government army LCE, so it's
Oh,
like suspenders and a pistol belt,
Right.
and 2 ammo pouches, 2 canteens, and a butt pack.
Yes.
One boy got them, and they all started getting them.
Yeah.
And then they all started wearing boonie hats, if you know what that is.
Yeah.
And so they're wearing camouflage pants, and we also gave them real bandanas.
Yeah.
We had the little troop bandana like Boy Scouts have, but
Right.
then we gave them real like triangular bandages for their camp out bandana. They'd wear that because it's more useful.
Mhm.
And so here's these kids. Oh, and we taught them how to make that thing from 6 ways in, 12 ways out. We taught them
The
how to
field
make
expedient.
the field expedient ghillie suit.
Oh yes. Oh,
So they'd make
Let him
these.
talk about
Okay,
that.
go ahead.
that was good. And that's what Joe taught him how to make the field expedient ghillie suits. and just something real quick. And taught them, just get a long flexible stick, bring the two ends together, tie it, and then kind of make a spider web around it, and then you can, with a couple extra pieces, make something to go, put your arms through. And then you just take the local foliage and just stick it in there and just make it real dense. And so they had a great time with that. When they went down, you could not see them. And so they were sneaking around trying to find each other, which is it was a lot of fun.
And so we would go to these big like jamborees where there's like 1,000 Boy Scouts, and they're from the city and they're not allowed to do anything, and they got mommies on the camp out with them. And then our boys show up and they're wearing camouflage pants and boots, LCE, little boonie hats, big green
There's a motley crew.
bandanas, and then they would make these camouflage things and wear them around, and they all had sheath knives. We made them earn it though. They had to
Yes.
get their totem chip and
Yep.
they could carry a sheath knife.
Yep.
But they were carrying like K-bars as Boy Scouts. They looked like a little band of gorillas because, well, I was their scoutmaster.
That's
And
right.
this was their
That's right.
assistant scoutmaster.
Now, keep in mind that I'm learning this stuff with the boys because I was never had any exposure to this, so I'm eating it up just as much as the boys are.
But you had military experience.
Yes.
Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I was a Navy corpsman for about 6 years, and then 2 years of National Guard duty. So with my when I was in the Navy, I was not assigned, but I would go out with the Marines as their medic or doc with them, and got a lot of experience, doing things like that. And then after that, because I had relocated, went to the National Guard, which was fine.
different, not what you expected. Well,
A good group of guys.
yeah, and we did a joint camp out once. I don't know if Mike and Knight were in the troop at that time because it
I
happened
remember
on
I was
Leavenworth.
scoutmaster.
You
Yeah.
were definitely scoutmaster. Do you remember this at all?
I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
It's when the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts were.
Oh, I don't think we did that one.
You
I
may
don't
not
remember,
have.
recall.
Tell
I don't
them how we
recall.
made sure nobody got in trouble. Tell them about that camp because it was your idea.
Right, it was my idea. It was on the fort. There was a Girl Scout camp, and then this like chasm. Smart.
Huge
And
draw,
huge
but very
draw,
deep and
And then a
rugged.
Boy Scout camp. And because I'm the Girl Scout leader of a troop and he's the Boy Scout leader of a troop, I said, why don't we do a joint camp out, right? We can do some activities that both of the scout troops should have. And then we can sleep in our separate areas at night so we don't have all the crazy stuff that you see in Hollywood movies and all that. So we planned semaphore flag communication.
Across this chasm,
Across the
flags,
chasm.
they sent messages to each other.
Right. And so we gave them a message and we did that. We did a joint hike where we all walked around the trails on the fort. And we did a campfire at night
With skits.
with skits. And I was thinking, the
I was
girls,
definitely not on that one.
the girls have a few skits and I forget they were Brownie Scouts, right? My troop was
No,
kinda young.
they were Girl Scouts.
They were the
Juniors.
junior scouts. So they're, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade ish. And they knew a few cute little things. The boys, it was like vaudeville.
Oh,
Every
they
single boy had
had
a
a skit,
story and
yeah.
a skit and a song and a thing. And it went on until I was tired. And I'm like, all right, girls, it's time for us to go to sleep. But it was very entertaining and it was a whole lot of fun. We really enjoyed that. And then we kind of mind melded our friend again because we had done the volunteer fire department stuff. You guys know that. We've talked about that.
Mhm.
Well, we
I
ended
thought
up.
you were wearing a firefighter sweatshirt when you started today.
I do have my firefighter sweatshirt, but I haven't worn it in the live stream. And then we would sit around and talk to Jaymo about this kind of stuff. And then he joined a volunteer fire
Yeah,
department.
my
right?
local town. Yeah.
So what do you think? Because you're talking to people out here, what do you think if somebody lives in a relatively rural area, should they not join a volunteer fire department? Why or why not?
I think so. Number one, you're helping out your community. Then you're meeting people, you're making contacts and friends, and you're learning skills as you're doing it. You're just being, a community servant
Sure.
and volunteering, and you get a lot of good knowledge and experience that you can carry on through different areas. And when I had gotten involved with that local fire department, a great bunch of people, as my boys became more of the age, they came on, which was fantastic.
Like a lot of the volunteer departments do have youth programs.
Yeah, this one they didn't have a youth program. They would just kind of bring them on. They could help out, and they went through all the training that we did. The only exception was they could not go into a house fire,
A burning structure.
a burning structure. They could not go into.
But they
at
could
all.
go to
But
the
they could
car
do support
crashes
roles
and everything else.
Exactly. Yeah, we in some of our training we did excavate extractions. You know how we get
What is
people
that?
out and
Extrication?
extrication.
Right.
Yes, and very much so. And we went on. Actually, they went on a lot of the calls where we did have to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and which was great experience for the boys to know. And eventually, they got more on the medical side because the volunteer fire department, we're running more medical calls.
Right, there's a
than any-
lot of medical calls. There's
than any
not
of that.
not so many fires anymore because most people know about fire safety and have fire extinguishers.
So what did you think
Well,
about
wait, let him finish
Oh.
because you were going to say.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that my boys eventually went into the medical field,
Right.
but that was a good way to cut their teeth
Sure.
on that profession. And my oldest one, while he was in high school, went through an EMT course
Mhm.
and got that before he even graduated.
Wow.
And then
My niece did that too.
yeah, we went on some medical calls, and he did fantastic. And then he just wanted to go on through the medical field, and
Mhm.
one became a nurse. Well, both of them became nurses. So.
Right. And did you guys have to do that? My favorite part of that whole volunteer fire department training and the EMT and all that stuff was riding in the ambulance. Did you guys do that for
Yes.
some of it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are some characters on those ambulances.
Well, that's why you wrote
Yes.
that book.
Right.
Part of it, I mean, was from those experiences.
Exactly right.
Sister Kate has a novel that I told her would make a really good screenplay that's basically written, and I'm not going to say anything else about it because I don't know what you want to say or not, but it's really good, and they could make a movie out of it like that, and it would be a scary comedy. That's all I'll say.
Right. It would be a scary
Kind of like
comedy.
American Werewolves of London's kind of
Right.
scary funny.
I haven't mentioned it because I don't want to offend the more sensitive people on my channel, but it's a comedy and it is pretty much all written. 78,000 words. But do you have any stories that you remember from those days, like your best call or your worst call or anything like that?
Well, the thing that I remember most, well, there's a couple things. Some like really, really sad and unfortunate
Mm-hmm.
thing. There's not a whole lot we could do, but
Mm.
the thing that stands out is in structure fires, how beautiful they can be and how hypnolizing they can be.
Oh, right.
You're sick. No, I'm kidding.
No, man.
Yeah,
you
you
know,
just
I
want
know.
to. You're fighting a fire, and you get a rollover, or you see the flames, and they're just. And you know how hypnotized you can be if you're
No.
sitting at a campfire,
Yeah, no, I get
Right.
you.
and you're kind of sitting there, and you just look at, you're hypnotized by it, and I don't know about everybody, and that if everybody experiences that in a house fire, but
Ranger TV, that's what we used to call it. Campfires.
We call
Yeah,
that reality TV here on Shofar. Watch the campfire.
and so on a couple occasions I've had come on, let's go, we got something to do, because it's very beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And scary. So
Firefighters talk about the mesmerization, the beauty of the fire, like you said, and it has its own personality, and you kind of have to fight your own self just staring at it. You
Yeah.
have to be like,
Yeah.
I need to also do something to put
Yeah.
it out.
And I did have some previous firefighting experience shipboard in the Navy. And
Oh,
how
of
to damage
course.
control and doing things
Yeah,
like that.
that's a big
So,
part of the training
yeah.
for
Well,
Navy
everybody
ships.
learns that, right? Because
Yeah.
fire
Yeah.
on a ship
Yeah.
is a dangerous thing. I've
Yeah,
only been on a
very
couple
much so,
ships, but
yeah.
even when I was on the ship, we had drills we had to do as passengers for what to do in a fire.
Mhm.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So Doc Jamo is, like we said, considering starting a channel. And if he does, Doc Jamo will be some part
I'll let you know on my
Right.
Patreon channel.
an,
what it
an,
is.
an identifier should it ever come around. And I'll just leave that out there. And then he's morphed just like a lot of us have. We start in one location and we wind up somewhere else. So from the chiropractic practice and the firefighting and the way things changed and the economy and everything, you wound up doing surgical stuff, right?
Yeah, well, I was a surgical technologist before I went to chiropractic school. Worked my way through chiropractic school doing that.
Mm-hmm.
and then had to practice for 13 years and retired out of that and just kind of got back into surgical teching for a little bit.
So what kind of surgical teching did you do? What kind of operations did
Oh,
they
we
have?
did just because I have done it for so long. I mean, as we're talking about it now, it's described as kind of seems like a short period of time, but it was something I've done, kind of
Right,
30
over
years.
15, 30, yeah.
Yeah, and so at this hospital that I'm affiliated with now, I was probably one of the most experienced technologists that they had there. So there was,
Wow.
I could basically, and I traveled
Mhm.
as a surgical technologist.
West told
for a while.
Forge, talk to me in a text tomorrow. I'll square you away. Seriously.
And so I've done everything from eyes to neurosurgery, brain surgery, orthopedics, open heart.
Appendix.
Yeah,
Open heart.
yeah. I've done all that, and even the smaller things. So it's amazing. Now my favorite though is general surgery.
General surgery.
Mhm.
So
What
kind
is
of-
general
yeah.
surgery?
General surgery is basically kind of covers more of the abdomen or lumps and bumps type things,
Like on
and
Suka's neck?
yeah, and they'll do colon resections,
Mhm.
and then reanastomosis and gallbladders and appendix and things like
Okay.
that.
See, I have respect for you and people like you for that, honestly, because I know how to take somebody apart with a knife. I
Mhm.
really do.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
And I'm not even squeamish about that.
Right.
Like, I can do that,
Mhm.
but the thought of me cutting into somebody with the intention to heal them is horrifying to me. And I think it's because I learned how to fight with a knife.
Yeah.
And so I know the damage it can do.
Oh, yeah.
But then thinking about healing, and my medic in special forces, who might be on here, he comes on sometimes.
Sometimes he's on there.
Um,
It's hard to
but
say.
he used to say, "To cut is to heal." I thought that
And
was
we
funny.
will take some questions and comments from y'all in a minute, but my aim to have this live stream was to introduce him and now to let you guys understand his bona fides, and then to make the point, he's out here, he's a fellow American with y'all, just like other people. Can you imagine if he was your neighbor? What an asset
I
Doc
haven't
Jamo
been trying to
is.
get you to move here at all since you've been here, have I? I mean,
No,
no.
well, you've dropped it several.
Every
I'm
5
like,
minutes.
hey Doc, there's hospitals
Yes.
here you could.
Yeah.
He's having a brand new house built as we speak, and I'm like, dude, has it gone up in value since you started
Mhm.
building it? And you're like, oh yeah, it's increased. You told me
Yeah.
how much it's
Yeah.
increased already in equity, and I'm like, you could make a profit on that, sell that, and come here, because right now I'm actually giving a talk tomorrow.
Yeah.
on,
I wish I could be here for that.
prepper clinics, and Sister Kate is our camp doc because she's the most highly qualified medical person here on this camp. And I told Doc, you show up here, man, and she's your assistant.
I'm the
You're in
assistant.
charge, and this
I'm
is
the
all
OG.
yours.
I'm
but-
just like, here's a sponge, here's a thing.
and your sons are nurses,
Yes.
Both
right?
sons
Yes.
nurses.
And so
come
it's
on.
like, come on,
Mhm.
but he's not listening.
So and my point to bring that up is, how are you gonna meet somebody like Doc if you just sit behind your keyboard? And
Hey,
go
this
like
is Stalking Wolf.
Get out of
He
here!
said hello to you.
Ray?
Aw,
Yeah.
Ray, hey Ray.
he's here, Ray. You should be
I was
here.
talking about you today. I said, man, I wish he was here working on his stuff.
Man, love
But
you,
you weren't
man.
here.
Yeah, he was talking about you. Aw, I miss so many of the
Okay,
comments.
I want Jay to answer this question, and if he doesn't say what I'm going to say, I'm going to say it.
Okay.
Sailor 382 said, so in SHTF, because we were just talking about this today.
Right.
How would you handle an appendectomy?
Oh, bing, bing,
We were all three of us
All
were
three of
talking
us were
about this
talking
about
about
3
it.
hours ago.
bing. Yep.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And what did you say?
It.
you might actually have some from your son going, Dad, I see you online. What are you doing?
Okay.
That's your phone.
He said you can read that. Micah said that. Hey Micah. Well, it depends on what you have, what kind
Thanks,
of.
Micah.
But I would definitely attempt to save their life, because I had participated in that surgery. Now I'm not a surgeon. I don't claim to be, and I don't claim to have the knowledge that they have. but I have done enough of those over the 30 years in order to save someone's life.
Hey, Micah.
I would attempt it to save their life, and I think we could do it. And just if we had, I would definitely try.
So when I
Definitely,
was
we
in
would all
special
try.
But I don't know if
forces,
that answers your question on how I would
no,
approach
you
that.
answered
but-
it. You said you would actually try the operation.
Oh yeah.
Well, when I was in special forces, we had to keep it just this way. We had war folders, targets in certain countries that we were going to go to in the event of war. And one of those, we were not getting a medevac once we got in. And I asked our medic, who maybe he'll show up
He could be
one time,
on
who
here.
was so skilled. He knew how to do everything. And I said, hey, what's your plan if one of us comes down with appendicitis while we're deployed inside this country with no medevac possibilities? And because I wanted to know, did he know how to do surgery
Right.
on an appendix?
Right.
And in fact, my team sergeant at the time, because special forces medics are amazing, my team sergeant had had a vasectomy done in the team room
By the
by
medic.
his medic,
And
not
I was
my
gonna,
medic. Another
I was
medic.
gonna let that medic deliver my child, my second child. We
So,
had it all set up.
They are super skilled. So I said, "What are you going to do with us if we have an appendicitis?" And he already had a plan for that because he had his war medical bag that he would carry, and he had I don't remember what it was, but he had a specific antibiotic in there in the numbers that he was just going to fuse antibiotics into the person until we could do something different.
Yeah.
And I talked to Doc Jamo about that, and he's like, and he knew all about it and said, yep.
Yeah.
But I think appendectomy should be an elective surgery. I would get one. All of us preppers, now think about it, all of us preppers, an appendectomy today, that's not a serious surgery, right? Typically speaking,
It's
generally
now
speaking.
It's pretty easy. Well, now it's done laparoscopically,
Right,
so it's
so-
super easy to
right.
get in and
Little
out in
holes.
30 minutes.
But if there's no hospital available
Yeah.
and there's not going to be one available,
yeah.
and all of a sudden you've got one has to have an appendectomy done or
Right,
something,
here's the
you're
Bowie
in
knife.
trouble.
Here's
I
the
would go
stapler.
sign up. I would pay out of my own pocket. Maybe. I don't know what an appendectomy costs.
So we get this can segue into a story, right?
We have lots of stories.
Right. I don't know if you've had your appendix out.
No,
but
I kept mine.
Right.
I'm attached to
I
it.
turned 50. We're coming down here. My husband says we should get our appendix out. We should have appendectomies. And I'm like, okay, honey, because I'm that wife. Okay, honey. And I'm
Because
thinking,
that's how she is. You know that, right? She's so, okay, honey. She's so soft and compliant.
he's gonna schedule him, and we're both gonna go in. We're gonna get our appendix out. This sounds reasonable. I'm with this plan, right? So then he gets his oil company job, and they send him to Australia.
Off the coast of Australia on a ship.
And meanwhile, I'm by myself, and I'm having a weekend where, dang it, I don't feel good, and I'm nauseous, but it's almost painful, and so I try to make myself throw up a couple of times because I'm like, well, let's just get that over with, and I do that, but it's not helping, and all of a sudden, my right side hurts a lot,
Oh boy.
and so my daughter just happened to be in town that weekend, and I called her up at like 3 a.m. and said, I think I need to go to the ER. And so she and her husband came and picked me up and drove me to the ER. And the husband asked me, do you want this to be a fast trip or do you want this to be a gentle trip? And I said, make it gentle. Because every bump was like, oh. And
Joe!
then, hey!
Joe, we told that story.
I
He
wondered,
said, when I was a younger man, I shadowed the man when he was surgical nurse Jaymo. Also, sweet pun, brother, I'm attached to it. LOL. He told the story of when you shadowed him.
Yay!
Hi.
That's right. And he said the surgeons were super impressed with
Yeah,
you.
they were.
Yeah,
definitely.
he said that.
Good job.
You can watch this tomorrow. He said they were talking about you after you left
Yeah.
with high regard.
Yep, and Micah's online too, right?
Yep.
Micah's
Yeah,
watching
Micah's
it.
on.
So if you want to say hi to Micah, you can say hi, son, and send in a question or anything like that if you want to. So, long story short, I had to have my appendix out at age 50, as per the plan, right? And he's off the coast, so he's not there to help. My daughter helped take care of me and everything, and I get done, and he gets back, and I'm like, okay, I got mine done, so it's your turn. Have you had your appendix out?
They don't do an elective surgery.
You
You
just
can't-
said you would pay for it yourself.
I would but they won't do
They won't
it.
do it.
Long story short, that was 10 years ago, y'all.
I would do it if I could schedule elective surgery for my appendix. I would have it done.
Doc, you can do it tonight. We'll just listen.
Well, you did
more.
say you did say
I wouldn't do it.
you can do it.
There you go. I got something to knock him out with somewhere around here. Let me just
I'm
clump him
drinking
on the
something.
head
I'm
with
not,
it.
if I drink enough of it.
Right?
Hey Joe, Mosby's Men Ozarks is Stalking Wolf. He's the one that said hi to you in the comments.
That's right. Stockholm Wolf's on here too. It's Old Home Week.
It is
On
old
Sister
home.
Kate's
Yes.
live stream, right?
There's some of us
Family
old
reunion,
geezers that
right?
have been together for a long
Yeah,
time,
it has.
man.
Mike, it's only a 9-hour drive. Pack and come now, and we'll have breakfast. I made scones.
Oh, they're delicious.
Yeah,
Oh, they're so
that
good.
was really good. So back to Doc Jamo, because he's our guest speaker, and we don't want to ignore him. We've got a
No,
million,
fine.
million, zillion, billion stories.
But wait,
Um,
first, a word from our sponsor. Survivalist Family, Prepared Americans for a Strong America, by me, at fine bookstores everywhere.
and Doc Jamo's
And it
on,
is a very good book.
and Doc Jamo's on page 39.
He is, in the flesh.
In the flesh, that guy right there. So, how are your homesteading skills? Do you have any stories about homesteading?
Oh, many, because you got, we Northwest Missouri, which I'm not there now, but we had a farm, and we're new to this. We're
Right.
pretty
Oh, were
much
you
city.
new to it when you lived there?
Yeah, I was
Oh,
all
that's
hands
when I
on.
met
I had
you, you were
no
living there.
clue what I was doing.
We
Well, I
were
thought you were
also
doing
new.
great.
We were new.
We
at
were new too,
homesteading.
we were.
We were all trying
And
this
you were
out.
more rural than we were even. at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, we were out there. Our closest neighbor was like a little over a quarter mile away,
Mhm.
and up on this hill. It was just absolutely beautiful, highest point in that county that we lived in.
Mm-hmm.
And because I didn't want to raise my boys in the city.
Right.
Because there's value, and I'm sure you guys realize that, of working hard.
Right. Hard work, outdoor
Hard
work.
work, putting the hours in, and then all the different skill sets that you could pick up just by doing that alone. So I wanted, and that's something I didn't have. I did grow up in the city. I grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida, on the beach. I was more of a beach.
Ooh, you beach bum.
Yeah,
It's a nice
Thank
life.
you, Army wife.
and so I wanted that experience for my boys, and my wife always loved that too. Her mom's
Yes,
a country
it
girl
is.
from Tennessee,
Yeah.
and she
Bigfoot.
wanted to get more that type of living. So we were all doing that together, and
Yeah.
we'd come up with ideas and we'd follow through with it. So and at that time I had already known these folks here, and so we're maybe kind of doing it close to the same time. So
Mhm.
we were just kind of getting into it. So we started out with chickens.
Yes. Chickens is always a homesteading easy. Try this thing. They're not big enough to do damage to your fence and stuff like
Right,
that.
it's much easier, and
Oh,
we're kind of looking forward.
Goat. I'm sorry.
We can get into the goat story. We
Yeah.
can get into Nate and the goat story. But we started out with chickens, and
Yeah.
then getting the eggs, and we wanted to expand our and gardening more. Just love the garden. Just
Right.
getting outside, just getting dirt under our fingernails, and then planting and watching it grow.
Keep talking. They can hear you.
Shameless plug here, y'all. Just right in the camera.
And it is a
Well,
very
somebody
good,
asked.
it is
Okay.
it is a very good book. I've read it several times.
No, keep talking.
Yeah, the gardening especially because you're feeding your children and yourself
Right.
stuff with
Right,
no
it-
chemicals or whatever.
Right, more organic, and you get to learn of growing various things, and knowing how to and how not to.
Right.
How
There's
not
a
to do things
steep
by doing them.
learning curve there.
And it
right?
was so funny because as I was working on this little farm, and there's all country people, and they would kind of drive by the house, and I'm kind of doing something, and you're doing something wrong when they drive by in the pickup truck. They're looking at you, and they're kind of like,
The country shame.
It's so true. Like that poor city slicker.
oh yeah,
He's not-
it's like, oh boy.
Can I interrupt you just for a second because it
Absolutely.
applies to this? We lived in the country and we had chickens and they free range and we lived on a long gravel road, and one day a car stops on the gravel road and they're beeping and beeping and beeping and beeping their horn, and our chickens were along the edge of this gravel
Yeah.
road.
They do
And
that.
I come out around the corner and it's like these city girls. I mean, like 4 of them in this car. And she rolls down the window. She goes, "Your chickens are out!" And I said, "What?" She goes, "Your chickens," she's pointing outside the car, "are out!" And I went, "Okay, thank you."
Free
They were
range,
always out.
right?
Yeah.
Free
I'm
range.
sorry,
Yeah.
that's
Go ahead.
people yelling at
Yeah.
you.
So anyway, I just wanted to, because I was following up on that. I've ever said that, Joe asked me that question, what's the scariest sound and then the scariest,
Feelings.
most frightening feeling.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to teach my family, I wanted to learn and teach my family, life skills.
Sure.
So like I said, we started out with the chickens, and then that was time we had so many chickens, we got the eggs, and
Yeah.
then okay, we got the chicken. Now what are you gonna do with them?
Mm.
Because you can't just keep feeding them. They gotta do something besides eggs. So we started using them for meat,
Mm.
and that was interesting. So I was like, I had a friend that I had gone to church with who also raised chickens, and then they ate them and different exotic birds. And so I asked him over to come show me some stuff. How do you cull a chicken?
Right.
What's that process look like? How do
Yeah.
you do that? And so he taught me, and I did it. And then
Did you use cones?
no.
No, he's got a great technique. I remember this technique.
Oh no, am I gonna get blasted by PETA for?
No, just tell
saying
man,
anything.
homesteaders are
Good people
gonna
here.
love this. Go ahead.
Because I'm going to tell Sister Kate's story and let her tell how she does it.
It's horrible. At least it was,
I don't
for
remember.
me. Well, the easiest way that this guy said, this is the easiest way that
It
I
is the
found to
easiest
do it.
way.
Was you grab the chicken, you grab them by the legs, you kind of lay them on the ground, and you take the heel of your boot
On their head.
and you stomp on their head, not like stomp on, but you hold it with
Right.
your boot, and then you just grab their legs and you just yank.
Yep, and it pops
hard,
their
and
head
it just
off.
pops their head off.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, okay, I can do that. And so I did that on a couple because we had like 6 chickens. We had to
Right.
cull. And so I did like 2 of them. You kind of pop their head
It
off,
is
and then you
brutal.
just throw them and let them bounce around and bounce
They just
around
roll.
and bleed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I called, had Micah do the next one, and he grabbed it and he
Sure.
did that, and it was horrible. It was traumatized. I mean, he stomped on his head and he went to
Right.
yank us, and he really couldn't do it. So it's like
Right.
you're cranking a lawnmower.
Right,
Just
right.
go ahead and crank it. Well, he wasn't pressing down hard enough with the heel of his boot,
Yeah.
and was just raking the chicken's head underneath his boot, and it wasn't coming off. He did that several times, and it is making all this horrible noise. And finally, I just had to do it. But
Right.
we did it several times, and
Yeah, that is the part of the learning curve. I
So
mean,
is
it's
it-
a reality to
Yeah.
have a homestead.
Is it the straight run when you don't know what you're going to get?
Correct. It's
So
the
we have
50-50.
ordered in the past from McMurray Hatchery or something,
Yeah,
straight
Murray
run
McMurray.
chickens.
Yeah.
Murray McMurray.
Good.
And you
good
get a
company.
straight run, and honestly, about half of them end up being roosters.
Sure, straight
What's the
run's
problem
gonna
with
be.
having half of your chickens roosters?
Oh, and I have a friend now who's suffering this. When you have half of them roosters and you get 10 hens and like 10 roosters, you have 10 roosters all crowing at 4 a.m. So if
That's
you
why I woke up.
Right.
Honestly, the roosters woke me up this morning.
right, one rooster, sometimes you just kind of hear it and ignore it. When you have 10, it's like 10 alarm clocks going off. It's annoying as heck. They fight each other.
They do.
They're going to be tearing each other up.
But the worst part is,
They're all 10 trying to pile on your females.
it's chicken rape.
It is terrible, and your girls will be overused if you allow this to continue on. And so we happen to have 10 or 11 at some time in our distant past, and I hear him waking me up again, and I've had it. It's just one of those days. He was probably grumpy on the way to work. Sorry, that guy.
I'm always grumpy in the morning.
Right, so I probably got snarked out before he leaves, and I'm mad, and I'm not going to go out and catch 11 chickens. I'm not going to do it. They're running around my yard. I'm not going to do that thing, but I want them dead, and I want them dead today, and he's not going to be home for 8 hours, so it's on me. Fine, I'm going to have target shooting day. I am going to get my shotgun, and I just stalked them around the yard, waited till they were in a safe location, and blew their head off. And I picture it this way, okay? If you blow their head off, there's no, well, maybe I shot it.
Yeah.
They're not wounded. They're not flopping around and it's, could extend out for minutes or anything like that. It's instantaneous and it's final. And so I did that 10 times and got all the bodies and cleaned all the birds and put them all in the freezer.
And then roosters are tough, right?
They are tough unless you slow cook them in something like a crock pot or a
Frog pot
Dutch
is an
oven.
awesome way, or a Dutch oven, to cook roosters.
Yeah. And once again, we learned the hard way
Well, go ahead.
of cooking it.
Go
No,
ahead.
I mean, we had called it and, prepared it for the pot.
Right,
And my wife is so funny. And I wish she was here. I wish she was here to tell the story, but and she's sort of going. This was the first time.
Right.
She's used to getting a chicken from the store. Where it's
Right.
all whatever and everything neat and packaged. And you just
Yep.
plop it in. Well, we had a rooster. We're gonna just go ahead and boil it. Well,
Sure.
we didn't know how to. We thought we'd just do it like a hen.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I had cleaned it and rinsed off in the sink and everything ready. I said, "Okay, Laura, there it is. Go ahead and put it
Right.
Put it
Do
in the
your
pot."
magic, sweetie.
So she got it to the rolling boil and she takes the chicken and sticks it in the pot. And she's real skeptical. She really takes because you knew that
Right.
bird,
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
You
an hour
fed
ago
it.
it was running around the yard.
right? And so it's kind of like ooh, it's kind of went through the same experience with the boys.
It's
of,
different.
When we collect the eggs and you're gonna fry up some eggs, cook some
Sure.
eggs, you're gonna like, how's this gonna taste? Because
Right.
Until you taste it, and then
yeah,
you
you
know
used to
it's
get your eggs from the
delicious.
store.
Right. Right. They're great. The home done ones are so buttery, they're yummy. But anyway.
Right. So anyway, she takes the chicken, puts it in, but its legs, I cut the feet
Yeah.
off, but the legs were sticking up
Right.
from the pot. And she's
Right.
like
Push it in there.
trying to get them to stay down because they want to get from the store all kind of
Right.
tucked in
They are.
Right.
or whatever. And this one's not. It's just
Right.
different. And
Sure.
so she didn't know how to try to put the pot on and half the lid,
Right.
and the half it's the legs are pushing it up, and
Yeah, there was
it's crazy.
a point at which I was cleaning those 10 birds, and the first one took me half an hour, and it's sliding all around on the cutting board because it's it's dead, and you've got. And by the time I was done with that, after that half hour, and I'd finally got the intestines out, and I'd finally got the skin off and everything, I'm like, okay, no more Mrs. Nice Guy. The next guy comes on that table, I just cracked the hip joints so they'd lay flat. I cracked the wing joints so they would lay flat. I cut it open, made the incisions at the tail and the neck, took the whole thing, grabbed it, ripped all that out. I mean, I stopped trying to pull feathers out. I just skinned the whole thing. I'm like, I want this
Yeah.
done in 5 minutes because after 10 or 15 of them, you just don't want any of that trouble.
Yeah,
and things like
absolutely.
the legs, you're like, I don't know if I even care to have half the leg
Yeah.
left. I'm just gonna lop this guy off at that knee joint and
Right.
meat on all the way up. That's
Yeah.
it, right?
Yep. And then, just like Sister Kate said, you got to cook it slow. We didn't know that. We're city folks. We're now living in the
Oh yeah,
country, so
we
we're
made that mistake too. We've had
Yeah, we did.
leather
Oh, yeah, we did.
rooster.
so Laura made this wonderful broth, and it smelled awesome.
Sure.
Oh, it was so good.
Right.
And so she made the broth, and we prepared the chicken. I think we were going to make black beans and rice with chicken.
Sure.
And so when the chicken was done cooking, we pull out, and I'm trying to pull the meat off, and oh my goodness, it was so rubbery.
Right? It's
I
like
get a piece off
rubber.
her breast, I'm like, ring. I was like, oh, this ain't gonna work.
Yeah, it tastes
I
okay,
said,
but
we
the
got to figure out a
texture-
different way how to do this, So you're asking
Yeah.
questions, reading, articles on how do you cook a chicken.
Right, yeah.
So J Fox 7
Oh,
says, "Hey Momo, tell the story about when we were all inept at butchering and got those free salmon given to us. Remember those salmon?
is he talking about up in
Yeah, Fort
up in
Lewis.
Washington State? Okay, and we went and got him, right? That's the story he's talking about.
And I think you can tell the story from getting them to butchering them to add how much he ate versus how
well,
much you
sure.
and I
So
ate.
it's a thing.
Because he was like, what, 8 years old or
Oh
something?
yeah, he's at an age when he can eat if he likes it. He could eat a million chicken nuggets if he liked them, but give him something he doesn't like, they're not eating it at all. So we found out about this program on the fort we were on. It had a salmon hatchery that ran through the middle of it, and it was monitored or owned or something controlled by the local tribe, Nisqually, but it was federal property. And so there's kind of a joint thing going on. And they would every year take fry from the male and female salmon, put them together in buckets and start baby salmon for the next year. And so you have salmon coming up from
Well,
the
what would
ocean.
happen? They would I'll just tell this part. They would let the fry go, little salmon minnows. They would swim down the Nisqually River to the Pacific Ocean,
Right.
swim across the ocean to Japan, swim around Japan, and then come back up the Nisqually River to
right
breed.
to that,
And that was 7 years later.
right,
And
right
then they
to
would,
their
they
own
would breed and
hatchery.
have all their eggs and stuff.
Right.
And do you remember how the hatchery worked with the gate?
Yeah, I mean, I
Okay, so go
remember
ahead.
all. So they're coming back to the place where they've been created, really, and so they did have gates to like separate the male and the female.
Right, they narrow them down to one chute, so only one fish at a time can go. And if it's a female, they open the gate and it goes this way. If it's a male, they open the gate
Right,
and it
and
goes
then
that
they
way.
conk the mature salmon on the head and milk out male and female stuff, mix it up in a bucket, and
Well,
make babies for the next
So there's
time.
a difference on that. With the females, they conk them on the head and they gut them
Right,
because then all the eggs would come out. With
Right.
the males, they would just conk them on the head and squeeze them, and
right,
the sperm would
and
come out.
stuff,
So
right.
you still had to clean the male salmon.
Right. And so, as part of the whole deal, they've got these stunned, half wounded salmon. They're basically dead, but they don't want to give them away. And the tribe got a certain amount of them. And then they offered the rest to anyone who would show up, and you brought a cooler,
And
and
so
they
this
would
was-
give you these adult
So
salmon.
let me add into here. This was a well kept secret on Fort Lewis. Like
Right.
people, I was there for a year and a half before we found out about it. People kept the secret because after they gave the tribe their allotment, then they gave the rest away to whoever was in line. So people didn't want people in line, and people would show up with coolers full of ice because it's in the summertime. And if you got in the female line, you got 2 because they were smaller. And if you got in the male line, you got 1 because it was that big male.
And he
Now,
has it reversed. The females were much larger, and the males were smaller.
I think not, but you all can look it up.
It's true. I was there with the kids, with the wagon.
But
with
whatever, we
cooler
got in the
it.
one line and we got the 2 little ones.
Right.
And then we got in the other line and got 1 big one, and then they're out of salmon. But we had
Or-
3 big fish.
Or if they weren't out of salmon, you could get back in line
Right.
and get another female. And the females could be 30 pounds of salmon, where the males
Those
are
were the
like
males. The
2
big
to
ones.
10 for the males.
Somebody knows, right?
And-
I think the males are the big ones. She's saying
There
"No
was
way."
also there was some jockeying in these lines. My son can attest to. Like, there were people who showed up who didn't care there was a line and went right up front and got their stuff right off the bat. But it was free, and so we have these enormous fish, and we take them home.
Thank you, K Gray 7.
Yeah, thank you very much, K Gray 7. And so it's on me now.
Ozark's brother Jerry, we were talking
No
about you
way!
today too.
Copperhead.
He said Doc Jamo rocks. How did you manage to get some of his time? We were talking all about you today
We
too.
did for a
You
while.
and Stockham
We
was
miss you.
online too. Yeah.
Ozark's
you.
brother Jerry, I know we interrupted the story, but I gotta say hey to my brother. He was one of 2 people who convinced me and Sister Kate that we could build this house ourselves.
Yes.
Because he and his 16, 15-year-old
15.
son built a 3-story house all on
off
their own.
grid,
And I'm like,
off
if they can
grid,
do that, we can
before
do
it
that.
was popular. He
So
knowledgeable
shalom,
man,
brother.
and he's the one who helped Brother Chris too. He's the one that Brother Chris talks about coming to his very bare homestead and helping him get a lot of his stuff set up.
So anyway, go on.
So
So, we got
anyway.
these fish. They're on ice.
we bring him home. He's saying he was at work.
I was there. I remember waiting in line and getting them.
Well, maybe you came on one of them, but it would have
I
been.
was in uniform. I think I took off from work.
I was going to say, or you were on your lunch hour or
Yeah.
something. We get them home, and now I'm a young mom with like 3 kids or 2 kids, and I've got this 30-pound fish to pick up and try to butcher
on a kitchen counter
on a
of
kitchen-
a regular house.
on a kitchen counter in a regular house and get this thing in a freezer. And so I'm like, I get it on the counter and I want to like try to cut it, and it's
we don't have a
sliding.
cutting board that big.
Right, we don't have a cutting board that big. It's sliding all over the place. And so I think, and my son will remember this better than I did, I think I like took a fork and did sort of a karate choppy, jab it in there and hold it with the fork and try to slice with the knife through the gills and all that
And
stuff.
we made
just
salmon steaks.
to get steaks,
Big
to get
salmon
chunks of it,
steaks.
right?
Oh.
Coho salmon and king salmon. There was pink meat, and and so we finally get that done and get it in the freezer. And we're gonna have some for lunch or dinner. And we just cook it up. I'm sure we just baked it, put a little garlic, a little lemon, get it done, and then eat it. And the kids, oh my gosh! First of all, it was very smooth. If you get nice salmon, it's
it's
smooth, right? It's
Oh,
firm,
it was so,
so
good.
tasty because it's fresh. And the kids ate it like nobody's business.
Well, my son, I think he was
Helping
about 8
after
years old or
helping.
something, and he would eat more salmon than me, Green Beret captain,
Right.
doing all the things could eat. He would just eat. I told him something my dad used to tell me. What, do you have a hollow leg? I mean, where are you putting all that? He would just eat so much.
Well, even his sister, who was 3 or 4 years younger, was just helping after helping. Give them a piece about this big, and they down that, and do you want some more? Yes, and give them another piece like that. Do you want down all that? Do you want another one? Yes, another piece. I mean, they ate that salmon like it was going out of style.
and it was free.
And it was free.
Free
That's-
salmon. I mean, we had to clean it, but
Yeah.
Right.
Oh
and,
my
and that's just one of the benefits of
so
being
if you're at
in
Fort
that area.
Lewis, Joint Base Lewis McCord, they call it now. They got a salmon hatchery there. You should find out about it and get you some.
I think they advertise it once a year in the paper. You got to keep your eyes, peeled for that sort of thing. But let's get back to our guests. We're being rude.
No, you're not.
We're,
Not at all.
We're
I'm enjoying this.
Does anyone have any other questions or comments that we can address from them?
Well, going back to the farm,
Oh
you hit
yeah,
the
sorry,
chickens.
yeah,
Then we wanted to expand it a little bit.
sure.
So we had the garden, we had the chickens, and so my wife Laura wanted goat milk because it's
Yes.
so nutritious,
Easy
and
to digest.
easy to digest, much better than cow's milk. Though I love raw cow's milk.
That's what our son and his family drink.
Yeah. Oh, good. We still get some.
They have their own cow. They bought.
that's
their
even better.
cow.
They
Yeah.
have their own herd of cows.
Yeah, that's even better.
Yeah.
So, and I knew that Kate and Joe had goats. So I'm like, hey, can you guys, I'm thinking about, going and getting some goats. So, sir, so they had some, and that's where I got my first few goats.
Mhm.
Oh, you
And-
got your goats from
Mainly,
us?
Yeah.
mainly
Oh, I didn't know
alpine.
that.
Yeah, mainly alpine.
Yeah. And then, I had the female
Mm-hmm.
who I think, anyway, she was pregnant, I think.
Right.
Who
Yeah.
eventually had three baby goats.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we learned how to milk. So I came over and you
Right.
showed me at the milk shed how to milk the goat and how best to keep them from sticking their foot
In
Into
the
the
bucket
bucket.
and stuff
yeah,
like that.
Yeah, you keep them distracted with the goat dope.
Right. Yeah. The ice cream. We call it
Can
goat
somebody
hair.
put a comment on here just to see if my phone's working? Just say test or something, please.
Yeah, sweet feed. I'm sorry, y'all. I haven't scrolled at all. There's
I'm looking, I haven't seen
so
any
many
comments.
comments in here. Yeah.
All right, so hold on. We're talking about goats.
I know.
today.
He's still keep going. The
Okay.
AIDS on there. Shalom AIDS.
So I learned how to
Oh, there they are. Okay, go on.
I learned how to milk the goats. And so and it's a good thing. And we started drinking the milk and it was awesome. It was really good. It had no taste. at
Right,
all.
good, right.
Clark's
Yeah.
on there.
Clark's there.
Yeah. Hey,
I was
Clark.
hoping to see you today, Clark. I
Yeah,
wanted to
we
talk
wanted
to
to
you.
talk to you. Yeah.
So anyway, now comes the time to pass on the knowledge.
Mhm. Oh, so you already know how to milk?
Right, and I had done the first several milkings, and it's not anything that I particularly want to keep doing or take on it as a chore because I have everything else I need to
Sure,
do.
sure.
With
And it's at least daily.
the
if not
fencing,
twice a
right.
day.
Right. Twice
right.
a day.
So I think I got everybody to
Yes.
try and milk the goats,
Right.
and then it came around where I was at, were the goats milked today? Oh no, they got distracted or whatever. So eventually it did fall on me.
Aw.
Until I had enough
Right.
of that, I didn't need to take on anything else. So we just kept the goats, let her dry up, and they were fun to have. It was kind of like a pet until the little ones get old enough to where they figured that your car is a playground.
Oh,
if you've
yeah.
had
We used to
goats,
talk
you
about
know-
that. They have like cat prints on cars. We
Oh,
had
yeah.
goat prints
Oh,
on
yeah.
cars.
On my Jeep, on my
Yeah.
6-inch lifted Jeep, there would be little goat prints on the fender and hood.
Oh, and the ghost thought it was the greatest thing. There was two of them that got up on the hood of our car, and one of my boys, I can't remember if it's Nate or Micah, went out there to try and get the goat off, and the goat knows that you're coming. He knows he shouldn't be there,
Right.
and so they like look, and then all of a sudden they do their little tap dance
Yeah.
type thing, and then all of a sudden they jump up and then do the Superman
Right.
through the air and land, and then they run.
Right.
And goats, I've learned, they're very smart.
Yes,
they
they
will
are.
exploit every weakness you have.
Well, you remember when that goat got out yesterday?
Yeah.
Like it just like it saw the little opening in the gate, and it's like because we were taking care of the sheep, and the goat's like, "I'm out."
Yeah, they are
it's
equally
crazy.
as smart as dogs. They've tested them. Of the barnyard animals, goats are as smart as dogs.
And they play you and me when we're feeding them and the sheep. They're like they play us.
They're
because
crafty.
they get all the food.
They're crafty.
So, keep going.
So anyway, yeah, that had the goats, and I had built a pen, with fence and different sections. And I'm not a carpenter or construction or anything like that, so I'm doing the best I can. I'm a city
Right.
guy. I got a chiropractic practice, and
Right.
so I built this pen and they attached to another part of a barn, so it's outside, and they made a way that they could go in when it rains. So anyway, I put the goats up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm walking back across the field to the house, and then all of a sudden this one little goat comes whizzing by me. 100 miles an hour comes running by me. And I was like, what? So I go over there and get him. He lets me catch him. I take him over and I put him back in the pen.
Right.
Right? So I'm looking, okay, first I'm looking real quick. How did he get out? I didn't leave the gate open. Okay. So I turn around and start walking back towards the house, and halfway across, this little goat comes whizzing by me at 100 miles an hour. This little thing, it's funny. I'm like, how did he get out?
Right.
So I go over and he's
Somebody
not
just
running
said
away from me.
Goats are the Houdinis of animals.
No kidding.
And another
No
person said,
kidding.
I'm getting sheep. I'm getting sheep.
Yeah, the goats.
So how did he get out?
Well, so I picked him up, took him back, put him in the pen, and he stands there. And I'm standing there watching. I want to see if he's going to try and get out. And he's,
Sure.
I'm standing there looking at him. He's there staring, looking at me. I'm like, okay. So I walk a little bit more, turn around.
Right.
And he's just standing there. Walk a little further, turn around. And
Right.
he's just still standing there. And so I was like, okay, well, he's not going to show me. So I walk back up to the house, and third time he comes by me, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Okay, so I pick him up, I take him back to the pen, and this time he's kicking, because before he just let me hold him and put him back in the pen. This time he's upset.
Right.
He wants to stay out here.
Yes.
He wants to stay out and play.
Yeah.
So he's upset. I put him back in the pen.
Right.
He's throwing a little tantrum.
Right.
And then as I start to walk back, he goes to where it was.
Okay.
And there was a little where I had put the gate or the fence in. It was a
Right.
shoddy job, I know. But there was a section that wasn't tethered or tied in with the other.
Right,
And
right.
it was very small.
Right.
Oh, they can get through
But
small
how did he
spaces.
find it?
Looking
Is
for
my
it.
question.
They
Looking
test the
for
He
whole
had to
perimeter.
probe it. He had to have
He
probed
probed the
that
perimeter.
and found out, and then I found out, and
Right, you wire it up. But that's
oh my
that
goodness,
is
goats!
so
I
true.
will not do goats again. It was.
You gotta be a certain-
Somebody said, is there anyone that looks more like PJ than Doc? Do you know he's only 2 years younger than me, and he looks a lot younger. He lives
Look
better.
at all the dark in the beard, right?
That's right.
Look at all the color.
It'll get there.
Right.
I'm sure. Yeah.
No, it's just friends, right? We start to look like each other
That's right.
over time. Right on. Yeah. So he did the Navy.
So your son said, tell them the story about how you adjusted the white goat's neck that tried to take your eye out. You told me this story yesterday.
I did.
It's cool. He just
I
told
did.
and I told him the same thing. I said, you just adjusted his neck.
Right. It wasn't what you
Actually, I
thought
said
it
cracked,
was.
and he corrected me and said
It's
adjusted.
adjusted.
That's right. Adjusted.
Yeah. It's a specific.
Right.
Specific.
Yeah. Well,
Adjustment.
let's just preface that with
Low amplitude, high velocity thrust.
right that with goats and rams, when it's the male of these animals, sometimes you get really nice billy goats.
Mhm.
Sometimes you get really nice rams.
Our billy goat now is still pretty good, and he's a few years old.
Right, and I've had some that were even
Millennial
friendlier.
Man and I get along with him great.
Right, I've had some that were even friendlier than that, and they're just part of the asset of the herd, and,
Right.
But
and you
some
can walk right
are
of them.
beasts of Satan.
Some are horrible and will knock you down.
And that's
butt
my
you.
first. That was my first.
I remember your mean Billy.
Yes, and
I gave him back.
And I've yeah. We've
You can
gotten,
have him back.
yeah, we've gotten them, and when they're like that, a lot of times, if you take them to auction, just get paid and let someone else.
Yeah, let somebody else.
And
Deal
you
with
get
it.
fairly good money for even an old nasty billy goat.
I didn't
Yeah.
even want I didn't even want to take the trouble.
He'd had enough of it, so
Yeah.
go ahead.
All right, so it's kind of like a long story. I'll just make it short because my whole disposition at this point,
Hey, Hans.
our family had to go pick up some office furniture that I was going to take and put into my office. So I had rented a U-Haul truck, and we went over to Lenexa, Kansas, to go pick it up. And the weather wasn't that
Which
great.
is urban.
Yes. And went and picked it up, and some things happened. I was just, my mood over the day was just getting more sour.
Grumpy and grumpy.
And yeah, and I was tired. I
Grumpy
didn't get that much.
Jaymo.
I didn't get that much sleep because I was moving offices. So I was
Mhm.
after work, I would stay and have to
Pack
move
and-
office and prepare and paint and do the floors and fix things in my other office. Because I knew how I wanted. I didn't want anybody else to do it, so I was just doing it myself.
Well,
So
I
anyway,
get like that sometimes too.
yeah. So my wife and kids follow me in the truck. We got the furniture. We're going back to the farm.
Mhm.
We pull up into the field, into the yard, and the goats are out. We're like, again, well, yeah. So we get used to that. And the billy is out, running around. So I kind of pull in, I turn the truck around, I'm backing in because we're going to put it in our Morton building and store it. And Laura pulls up with the kids, and they're getting out. Nate gets out, and the goat starts to come around to the car, and Nate kind of gets out of the car. He's like going to the house. Well, this goat starts chasing Nate. Micah, correct me. Was it you or was it Nate? I think it was Nate.
I'll let you know what he says.
So anyway, he starts chasing Nate around, and he's laughing. At first, it was kind of funny. It's cute. And I'm, in the truck, doing something, and I see that Nate's running around chasing this goat, and it was a pretty nice size billy goat.
Mhm.
Laura gets out of the car and she starts screaming at the goat or yelling at Nate, "Run!" or whatever.
Run away!
And then one time, the goat almost,
Headbutts.
headbutted Nate, but he happened to just jump and grab a branch of a tree, and it went underneath. So my wife started getting real, more frantic. And I'm like, and I'm already in a sour disposition, and I'm like, I don't need this. This is, no boy.
Your son said it was Nate.
It's Nate. Okay. Thanks, Micah. And Nate's running up and it's chasing him around. So anyway, he came around the other side of the car. I get out of the truck. Laura's yelling. Nate's laughing. Micah, I can't remember where you were. But anyway, the goat saw me get out of the truck, and he looks at me. He stops and he's looking at me.
Like in the cartoons, the bull.
Yeah, he looks at me and he decides I'm a bigger target.
Right.
This guy, he looks slower, maybe. I don't know.
Old and slow. I'm
He's,
going for him.
so he's looking at me, I'm looking at him, and I could tell he's like he's
Yep,
posturing himself
yep.
to start coming at me, and I'm like,
Yep.
oh, not today. Today is not a good day for you to be doing
Not
this to
today,
me.
goat.
So
It's like
anyway,
that
he
movie
did.
Falling down. Do not mess with me today.
Yeah. So I've never seen a goat rear up. Anyway, he went back and he reared up and he came at me.
Right.
I'm like, this is a mistake. I'm not okay, this is going down now.
Right.
So he came at me
Like donkey.
and with his head down and his horns,
Right.
as soon as he got close enough, I grabbed his horns. I step to the side and drag him down. I point his nose up towards the air.
Yeah.
I get him on the ground. I put my knee on his neck and I
Yeah.
reposition my hands. And he's kind of like making this noise.
Right.
And I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to kill this thing.
Right.
Because I have had it up to here. And,
Right.
you know, the whole time there's a lot of stuff that went on before.
It's
I said,
just
I'm
one of
taking it.
those days.
And you're
right?
sure Pete is not watching, right? I'm not going to get in trouble
look,
for this.
The story ends okay. Okay, this is not our entertainment. This is a reality educational
And this
video.
actually
okay?
happened. So I just took a big old deep breath. I said, I'm going to break this thing's neck. I'm just going to twist his
And you
head
know
as hard
something
as I
about,
can.
you know, that's what I told you yesterday. You know
Chiropractor.
something about necks.
I do know something about necks and how, you know,
How they work.
I know how it works.
So when you
Right.
say you're going to break the neck, you mean it.
He's going out.
It's
He's going out. I
hammer
mean, every
and
fiber
he's
of
done.
my body, I took his head and I just twisted it.
Right.
And I twisted it with everything that I had. And the noise is just the popping, the cracking, the
Right.
little bit of tearing. And I have my eyes closed at this. I said, this is not going to be pretty.
Right.
When I go to
Tongue's
look
going to
down.
come out.
Yeah. So I've got him, I'm just holding him, and he's not moving.
Right.
And I still got my knee in his neck,
Right.
and my eyes are closed. And so I slowly open up my eyes to look at him to see what happened.
Right. What have I wrought?
And I'm looking down at him. He's looking up at me with those slanted pupils, those
Satan
demon
eyes.
Satan eyes. He's looking at me, and he, blinking. Then he goes, ah. I'm like, okay, I didn't kill him, so
Nope.
I don't know what's going on. So I slowly release my grip. I
Yep.
slowly get up, and he's just laying there.
Yep.
I said, okay, maybe I paralyzed him or
Right.
something.
Right.
I back off a little bit, and
Yeah.
when he sees he's got space, he pops up
Yep.
and he goes the hopping. You know how you've seen how
Yep,
goats hop.
Right. Boink.
Bing,
Boink.
bing,
Boink.
bing, bing.
Didn't.
And he was,
didn't
and
phase
he was
him.
fine. It was like I felt like he was saying, "Oh, thank you."
Right. I got my adjustment
And I'm
from
thinking,
a
I didn't kill it.
professional.
It should have died
Close.
because the noise and everything. As hard as I hit him,
Not even close.
So that reminds me of a story.
Well, hang on
So
for your
that's my ghost
story.
story.
Wait. Yeah. Let's see. Just some
It
comments.
sounds horrible. I'm not.
Ladies
a mean
and gentlemen,
person.
thank you for joining us this evening. Please remember, like, share. Okay. I love my sheep. Goats were a pain, says some people. Adjusted, says Army Wife. Exactly. I'm going to testify. I'm here to say I've done almost the exact same thing to a very aggressive billy goat. Almost same
I
experience.
did the same thing. I tried to do the Tarzan thing where he would break the lion's neck, and it didn't break the goat's neck.
Right.
He laughed at me.
And so, right, and you get mad when you're at a point like this, when that thing has taken its head and butted you in the hip and almost
And it
knocked you
hurts.
down or whatever,
Yeah, it
and it
hurts.
hurts, and you're mad, and you like, I threw it on the ground, and I pressed its head down and whatever. Just let me tell you that you are not strong enough compared to what another billy goat is going to do to that billy goat when they run into each other and they do both of them the rearing up and they're 150 pounds apiece and they got 4 legs to power them and they crack those heads together. Yeah, he probably was like, did you see what that human tried to do? It's real, folks. They are very, very strong. And it's the same when you're milking your goat, because so many people I teach to milk goats. I'm like, grab the udder, you
Right.
have to squeeze and pinch, and then you push the milk
Right.
out, and they're all like, I didn't want to hurt the
Yeah.
goat. It's like you watch their baby eat.
You're not gonna hurt that goat.
They have little knobby
Yeah.
pre-horns on their heads, and they hit that bag like a
Yeah,
boxer
throw
at
their
the
head
gym to get the milk to come down, and then they latch on, and they'll just, suck and stretch, and
You're not gonna.
you're
hurt the
not
goat.
gonna
Not
hurt the goat when you're milking it either. And so, even though these billy goat stories sound like, ooh, that's pretty intense, trust me, the billy goes amateur and just trots back to the girls.
And what's
I'm
as
gonna-
smart
I'm-
as they are too, that you think and how you tether one out,
Mm-hmm.
they will create knots.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like how
I've always said for Shofar Mountain Games, we should give you 3 goats on lead ropes and just have you walk 100 yards with them and try not to get knotted up and tripped. Won't happen.
like you stupid goat.
Right? Did you not learn the 10 other times that we had this thing happen? Not to wrap the thing around your head and your leg and everything else. It's ridiculous. But I
Yeah.
still love them.
Yeah.
You have to be a special, stubborn person who somehow can get over all that, and that's me.
I want to tell my blue story.
Listen, Blue Story, go ahead.
So we're living in Kansas, and my wife is at a pound, and she calls me up on the phone, a dog pound, and she goes, "Hey, I found a blue tick coon hound." And I had just had a friend, the CEO of US RSOG, take me out coon hunting, and I've never seen it before, and that's another whole long story. And these guys had coon dogs like you wouldn't believe, like good Missouri coon dogs.
Several hundred thousand.
She said, "Can I get it?" And I said, "Sure." So she gets this dog, and we named him Blue because once I had a dog named Blue, and Blue wanted to be a ranger too, and so we named him Blue. But it turned out he wasn't a blue tick coon hound.
He had blue spots.
He was an English coon hound.
Yes.
And they look kind of like Dalmatians, but it was an English coon hound.
Very pretty dog, quite frankly. He was a good looking.
And Blue was probably halfway grown to adulthood, and we had an in-ground house at the time, and the eaves on the one side came down within about a foot of the ground, and there was a cat that there was no soffits on this house, and there was a cat living inside between the ceiling and the rafters up along the ceiling tiles and
making a mess.
Making a mess that
big stinky mess. Yeah.
And so one day we're driving, and Blue, I just told you a story about Blue with Tony.
Yeah.
Blue was an awesome dog. We raised Blue from a little puppy.
Yes.
We never trained him to hate cats, but that dog wanted nothing more than to eat cats.
He was very anti-cat.
And we were coming home one day, and the windows are down on the Zuzu Trooper, and he's in the back just going, doing his hound dog thing. And he saw the cat in our yard jump up into the roof, the ceiling of the house. He jumped out of a car going about 35 miles an hour and took off after that cat. And then our daughter's room started stinking because of all the cat crap that was above their ceiling. And so I set, again, not to make this story too long, a bucket trap with a Conibear 220. If you know how to do that, I set a bucket trap with a Conibear 220. And we literally went out and set it right underneath where the cat was jumping up into our ceiling because we didn't have soffits on it yet, and baited it with hot dogs. And we go inside the house to sit down to eat hot dogs for dinner, and we hear this weird sound. And we go running outside. I get the shotgun. We go running outside, and here is poor Blue. Now, a Conibear 220 is a big, strong trap. And the way the bucket trap works is the animal sticks its head in the trap to get the bait, and this thing goes bam. And this
teeth on it though.
Yeah,
it's not a tooth trap.
But you can't
it's just
open
a whole kind
I couldn't open it with my hands. They make a tool that opens it. And so we go out there. I said, "We got the cat!" And we go running out there, the whole family. And here's poor Blue. He's probably like 10 months old, not quite full grown. He's got a bucket on his head. He's got this trap snapped on his snout and his skull, and he's dog screaming into a bucket that can't come off his head. Oh my!
Shaking his head.
It was awful. It was awful. And we love our dog.
And I'm screaming and yelling at him.
She's screaming at me.
I told you he was gonna get
stuck. And I can't get the trap off his head. So I have to run back all the way around the house, into the house, to the other side of the house.
You actually yelled at me to get the tool because you were holding him so he wouldn't.
Yeah, because he's going crazy. And so we get this tool and we get the trap off his head. Now, you have to understand, you got to kind of understand the 220. But it hit him on the teeth and the snout, and it hit him on the skull. And I know he's going to die. He has a fractured skull and a broken jaw, and he's going to die. And we get it off, and I pick him up. And I'm carrying this, like, I don't know, probably 50-pound dog at the time. And I'm like talking to him, and I told Kate, I said, "Man, he's going to die." And then I considered shooting him to put him out of his misery. And Kate's like, no, just set him down for a second. I set this dog down on the ground. He runs into the house, runs back to the kitchen, and we only feed our dogs dry kibble, which is hard and crunchy, and starts eating a bowl of dry kibble. He did not have a broken jaw or a broken skull.
He wasn't hurt at all.
That dog was amazing. And I just might as well finish the story about Blue, right? So Blue, we don't let our dogs up on our couches or on our beds or anything like that.
We're not that family.
In our beds. We're not that family. But what would happen when we came home every
time we went anywhere? even if we shut the door, somehow he
Like
got
out in
it
the
open,
garden.
right? We come back in and we could hear him thunk off the bed, clunk.
And then
he'd
they
be
look
like,
guilty.
right? He looks guilty, and I'd be yelling at him, Blue, you
And
better
you
not.
have to own dogs to know that dogs look guilty when they've done something wrong.
Right, and we go up, and there's the nice round indent in the middle of the
Nice
bed,
round oval.
still warm. And I finally, after many other things happened, I told my husband we have to get rid of Blue.
Well, I'm going to tell that story.
I don't want no. He's a special guest. We don't need to go into all the details.
Well, we
of
told
that.
this story to each other because it
Yeah, go
involves Tony and Tracy. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
So
it's good.
So we
It's
didn't
good.
spoil Blue, but we had another family who was a dear friend of ours, Tony and Tracy, and they would come camping here on Shofar Mountain before there was anything here. It was just woods. And Tracy weighed what, 90 pounds, 95 pounds. She was a little petite woman. And she would let Blue, our dog who now weighed about 70 pounds, sit on her lap in a folding camp chair and pet Blue when we came camping. And we're like, oh my God, you don't have to let them do that. You can tell our dogs to get. And she'd be like, no, I like Blue. Well, we got a puppy Anatolian Shepherd. And Blue used to tear this little puppy up. He would beat up this puppy. Well, puppies grow and grow and grow. And when the puppy got to be about as big as Blue, he started tearing up Blue. And Blue was the nicest dog, right? Like you'd yell at him and discipline him and he'd be just like rubber and love you.
Right. Love you no matter if he got walloped or
as
not.
this Anatolian Shepherd gets bigger and bigger, Kate and I notice he's going to eventually kill Blue.
Because Anatolians are very, livestock guardian.
And
very,
they were both
get
uncut
serious
males,
quick.
and he was going to kill Blue, and we needed the Anatolian. And so we decided we got to give Blue away, and so we asked Tony and Tracy, do you guys want Blue? They're like, oh, I love Blue. And so they took Blue, and then we didn't see them for like 2 years. And remember how I told you Blue hated cats? So we're like, we see them 2 years later, we're like, how's Blue? And they look at each other, they give each other a look, and we're thinking, oh no, Blue died. And they didn't want to tell us. They're like, well, we gave Blue to our parents, mom and dad, old people, kind of like we are now.
Needed a watchdog.
And they needed a watchdog, so they gave him Blue. Now, Blue, healthy, probably weighed about 70 pounds.
Right.
And that's when we had him.
Very
he was
typical.
strong and muscular, and he weighed about
Right.
70 pounds.
Very typical hound
And they
dog.
said, well, they spoil Blue badly. We're like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, Blue sleeps in bed with them. And we're like, Blue's in heaven. Blue now weighs about 90 pounds because they feed him everything he wants to eat. And they owned a junkyard with like old washing machines and stuff that was full of stray cats.
that they didn't like.
And the dad hated cats. And so Blue spent all day in the junkyard killing cats. And at night he got to sleep in their bed and eat all their food.
Well, and he got to sit in the dad's recliner chair.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about
which
that.
no one got to sit
No
in.
one got to sit in Dad's chair.
And he also fed him potato chips because that was Dad's favorite snack. And so Blue got to have chips as well.
So Blue had a very happy life.
Okay, but no more stories. We
Okay,
need to get
sorry.
back to our special guest.
Our
We're
special guest.
ignoring him.
I'm enjoying the story. I'm enjoying listening to him.
So what you doing now? We won't go through every, trial and error and whatever, but what are you doing now?
Yeah. So
What
my
are you
boys are
into?
grown, married, and
Right?
you know,
Grandpa,
uh,
like
yeah.
the
And
rest of
so
us.
Laura and I were just living in an apartment. But anyway, we're having a house built,
Right.
and so we're kind of working on that. We're doing the pre-moving stuff, figuring out what we're gonna get rid of. We got a storage that we have to go through and get rid of some, kind of lighten up the load a little bit.
Right.
But,
And kind of plan how you want your actual house.
Right.
What you
Exactly.
want.
So we're watching that's being constructed now, and we're watching that go up, and it's real close to my son Nate, and really excited. But we're doing that. We're just doing our thing, keeping an eye on what's going on in the world.
Do you do any prepping at all there, brother?
Prepping. Oh yeah.
Are you a prepper?
No.
Liar! Liar!
No, we've been really busy buying extra, kind of build on. Well, the unfortunate thing is we were well prepared in Missouri, but we decided that we were going to relocate. So I had to
Right.
a lot of stuff 'cause we had to downsize.
Right.
Oh,
and the
really?
downside
Yeah,
to
we
the-
had to. We
Yeah.
significantly had to downsize, but now we're in an apartment. Now we're
Right,
now,
now
so
we're-
now we're trying to get back up,
Right.
and we have been. So we spent some evenings, filling buckets
Yeah.
and doing different things. Kind
Getting
of
yourself-
slowly building back up to the rafters and getting and helping others kind of do the same thing
Right. You're-
and teaching people who are not experienced or even thinking down that line and kind
Do
of
you
like
want to
what
talk
Joe
about that? Because I think what you're doing is good there. Because what you're telling me about the classes and stuff.
Yeah.
If you don't want to, you don't have to.
Yeah, no, I'm just teaching some classes. We're gonna get more involved. There were certain circumstances, but with COVID and everything else, kind of slowed things up, and then some changes. But we're gonna get back on track, with the classes with some people and kind of who've never thought about things, but know that there's a need, there's a necessity to do so. So we're kind of
Travis is here. Hey, Travis, we'll see you tomorrow, brother.
Yeah, another medical guy. It's too bad you guys can't meet because you could talk, but that's
Yeah.
all right.
so I'm just taking everything that I had
Such a
learned
goon.
on my journey,
Right.
through my association with you two, and then getting hands-on experience and actually putting it into practice, and over 13 years of coming out and working it and doing it and teaching others as they come out, just passing on that knowledge, and so that's what we'll be
A
doing.
person with wisdom and experience passing on knowledge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to rise for the hoary headed, and you're getting there.
Yeah,
you
and so
get
I'm
that
teaching.
white-
It's like what I like the term that you use, download.
Right?
Right.
So I'm.
Well, that's what I talked about today.
Yeah.
I want to download what I have to the younger,
Right.
not young. They're not
Right.
Right,
kids.
no.
People, because life.
Yeah, and so they were talking to me about maybe possibly developing, a channel and just downloading,
Mhm.
kind of going through, both, my experiences of being a physician, what I've learned there,
Mhm.
the necessity of proper nutrition, organic, how to take care of your body, fitness, home care, and
Yep.
just different things, and then bushcrafting and basic survival stuff, and how to get prepared in the event of any type of emergency, whether it be a fire, tornado,
Right.
earthquake, civil unrest, whatever. You need to have a plan. And as a provider, a father, and a husband that were to protect our family, teach other young men to do the same thing.
Right. And
So
ladies
you
on
are-
the other level.
I'm sorry.
you
Go
know?
ahead. I'll let you finish. I got a question for you when you're done, though. So you're well skilled. I know you are.
Mhm.
And you have lived a rural life,
Mhm.
and now you're in an apartment in a fairly big city,
Mhm.
and you're getting ready to move back out. You're
Yes.
coup-himping.
Yeah,
And so and before you lived rural, you lived cityfied.
right.
So
City,
you
rural,
understand
city, rural.
what suburban, urban men, let's just keep it on a man, like a
Right.
family, head of a family, what they know, don't know, feel, because you were talking about you didn't know this and you didn't
Right.
know that and yada yada. And there's a lot of people who are coming to the realization, oh crap,
I
this
need to
may
know
fall
something.
apart and I need to know stuff. What do you think some of the first steps, somebody who, picture an urban person,
Mhm.
right? Like they're living in an apartment, they don't know what you know.
Right.
They know what you knew the first time before you moved rural.
Mhm.
No. What would you tell those men who are heads of family who are like, man, I need to take care of my family? What would you tell them?
Okay, when they come onto that realization, like I did when you came up to me and said what you did, I would tell them the first thing is to start going on their quest for knowledge. Start researching, assess what it is that you have. What take an inventory. What do you have? Where do you think that's going to carry you? How far is that going to carry you? And then get the knowledge. And YouTube is and there's different prepping websites that you can go to. There's many of them. Start listening to them. Through experience. Start taking the baby steps.
Right.
And unfortunately, the time that we're living in now,
Mhm.
and the way things are going, we don't have the luxury of time. I
Mhm.
feel
I
it's
agree.
my
I agree
perception.
with you. I agree with you.
So things need to move quickly.
Mhm.
So if
It's a
I'm
new
a
thing.
typical
So-
urbanite, what would
right.
I do? What would you
Right.
tell me to do?
I would say first thing to do is you want to make sure that you have provisions to be able to feed your family, so your child doesn't come up and say, "Daddy, I'm hungry,"
agree.
and you don't experience that feeling of knowing that I have nothing to feed them.
Right.
I don't know. So that would be first.
Yep.
And then the second of all is so once you start accumulating and building up a food stock, now you have to prepare for people that have not prepared and are running through the same scenario where their kids are telling them, "I'm hungry," and they go through the realization that I can't, they're experiencing that feel, I can't feed my kids. So in situations like that, as sad as it is, they're going to go out hunt and look for food, and bad times will make good people do bad things.
So you're saying basically security.
Security.
Well, see, I know you don't watch all my videos, and that's fine. Because number one, you know most of what I know. But I say the two biggest things that are going to get you are starvation, which you address first,
Right.
and people behaving badly, which is exactly what you said second.
Yeah.
And you need to prepare for those two things.
So you have to build up a defense, and
Kind of
the best way is
This battle
firearms.
axe.
Yeah. Anything.
I'm
Have a
teasing.
way to defend what you have and who you love.
Right. Ooh, I like that. All right, and I'll take it in a little bit different direction. But again, question for you, because now you're going to this house that you are having built for yourself. What are you picturing it being as a final product? Like, what kind of things do you want going on in that house that you've thought about? And
Okay, so we went from city to rural to city.
right.
Now we're not really rural, but we're in the suburbs now.
Right,
Okay,
right.
so
Well, you're
there's
building a
other
brand
people.
new house, so it's not that suburby yet.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not where I want to end up being.
Okay.
Which is
my
our
journey.
neighbor here in Shofar
Right.
Mountain, so you can be in charge of our clinic. I'm
Right.
sorry, but I'm not going to let
That's-
you go on that.
So this is only a temporary,
Okay.
few years, because it's a good investment.
Sure.
really, at this time.
Exactly. No problem. Yeah.
So, but I envision it of just being stocked, protected, and
Oh, do you want to talk about your neighbors? What you told me about?
oh yeah.
Because
So
I think I hit this on my Patreon channel all the time, and out of the blue, he told me this, and I'm like, dude, you're perfect. So no, really,
so as this house is being, my house is being built.
and it's just like sheath and OSB or something. Now.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
built.
It's not, the roof's not even on yet. So it's just basically, it was just framed out. So, but even before they even broke ground, I went around to my neighbors, or who were gonna be my neighbors.
Listen
So
to this.
I introduced myself, I say, hey,
Doc
this is
Jaymo.
who I am, and this is, I'm building over there,
That's
and
okay, Poppy.
so we're gonna be neighbors. So I just want to introduce myself, and I
Sure.
did that to several of them, but one of them that I met is a patriot,
Nice.
and we had a lot of things in common and kind of think along the same lines,
Okay.
and so that's he's someone I know that I'm going to start a new network with.
Right.
And then every neighbor that moves in, I'm going to come over and welcome wagon.
Give them brownies and
Right, and figure out where they are, who
Right.
they are, and
This is always good advice. This really is. And it doesn't have to be for just when you're new.
right,
It can be even your own neighborhood that you've lived in for a while, but if you haven't gone around and met your neighbors, it's always a good idea. You find people who are useful, you find who might be dangerous,
Right.
you find out, the
Yep.
elderly couple who could use a hand. You
Yep.
find out if, hey, that guy breeds rabbits and he's got manure he wants to get
So
rid of.
anyway, this one gentleman that I had met that just had moved in from Texas, he has a dog, and he walks his dog all around
the
the
security
neighborhood,
guy, right?
Yeah.
and he keeps an eye. He said, "I keep an eye on everything." So he's just walking his dog as an excuse. The dog doesn't need to go out for a while. He could just let the dog out, in his
Right,
back and let
right.
it run. But it's an excuse for him to get around
Yeah.
and see thing and to
people
meet
and
people.
see, yeah.
And he cares too
Absolutely.
about where
He
he
does.
lives.
So yeah, you identify your neighbors, you build a network, you get to know where they are. Because there may be some neighbors that you know, they
I'm
may
gonna
not
talk
be
about this-
they may not be
I'm gonna talk
aligned
about
with your
this tomorrow at
Right.
yeah.
the Viking
They got a
meetup.
lot
And
of
you need to know
people
that.
visiting all day long, and they
Yeah.
only stay 5 minutes, and someone
Yeah.
comes out and meets their car, and then they leave. Like
Yeah.
you
So-
want to know that.
Yeah,
What
so
do you
you're
know
just
about
running you're gathering intel is what you're doing.
Sure,
Because that's part of protecting what you have.
exactly right. Right on. Wonderful. All right. Well, guys, if you have some questions or comments, now's the time. We've kind of gone over a wide
We
variety.
had fun, it was fun.
Which was good, right?
Yeah.
You heard some stories about us you probably may not have known.
I like the
and-
fact that we had Doc Jamo here because it's a little bit different than you or you and me. You know, it adds a different variety to it.
Well, and also
And when you move here, it'll be awesome.
right.
I'm not
He
gonna
was
stop.
he was there. So when Pastor Joe and I are telling stories, and you're like, "Oh, they always make stuff up." No, we
he's
don't.
been here the whole time.
He
Yeah.
knows.
These two have changed my life. I mean, they have definitely been a huge influence on my life, which I'm very grateful to our Father for that.
Look at this, good man to have on your mag. That's for
Amen.
you, man. That's exactly right. And you can be a guy just like him. By the way, you just have to apply yourself and work hard and get your knowledge and your skills and reach out to other people and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Do the things.
Do
Yeah.
the things
Yeah.
exactly right. And we started with sheep and cattle, then chicks, not doing turkeys again, and on the goats.
Yeah.
Great live stream.
Big hug.
Hunter Kirk says.
North Idaho, God's country.
Wow.
Oh, Clark says the new Saturday night variety show. Hey, Zoom
Love
could
Clark.
make that possible, and if we zoomed, we can invite in the old crew.
Oh, we
all
were-
along.
that would
We
be a
were
good idea.
talking about that too, about setting a scheduled time to do these things.
Right, you could just say hey, bloop, and here comes Stockenwolf, and bloop, here comes Copper.
I miss you, Ray. If you're still out there.
Yeah. Look, and my prepper said our crazy cat lady is our lookout. She may be crazy, the cat lady, but she's watching
Okay, Jay.
everybody.
Yes.
Doc Jamo, Northwest Arkansas prepper said, sounds like you need to get him and his family here soon. We can all help them move here. I agree. Hey, Micah, dude, there are jobs here. Also, third fastest growing region of the country.
Oh, he
We'd
works from
love
home.
to have you. You work from home. You can work anywhere.
You could work
You know,
anywhere.
seriously.
And what you
I'm being
have
kind
here,
of facetious and joking.
but what they have here versus what you have there, he's already walked around it. There's an asset here that you're not getting offered in Bowling Green. It's got all kinds of natural stuff on it. And
Hey, Yah is
edibles.
calling his people to the Ozarks.
You want
He
to
really
come.
is.
See, Joe Fox says, I'll help them move. They have fast internet down there. See, y'all, keep it in mind. I'm just saying. And I've got goats right now. Milk the goats. Got ducks. We got all kinds of cool stuff.
Ducks are cool.
Acorns.
Ducks will, here's a little quick story. Because we went from chickens, we had gotten a goose that somebody had given us,
Oh,
and we
I
got some
love
ducks.
geese. I love geese.
We had
Okay.
two of the Peking ducks they call
Yes,
the two of the white ones,
Yeah.
and
They're not,
they were hilarious.
Yeah, they're not dumb and they're fun.
And we had some other ducks. We had some like soldier ducks that are funny. They kind of
oh,
walk
yeah,
upright.
the Indian runners.
And then we had some mallards.
They call them ruin. It's
Ruin,
their-
yeah. Yeah, and
The road to ruin.
but the two Peking ducks would,
Yes.
as I was on the farm,
Follow
they would
you
they would
around?
follow me around. Now that's okay. And what I was doing, whatever I'm doing on,
Sure.
they would stand just kind of like right over there,
Right.
and they're looking and they're doing
Right, talking to each other.
They're like talking to each other, going
Right.
on, and pretty soon, and that's is all I'm hearing. I'm working. I'm like, I'm starting to feel subconscious.
Right.
It's like.
It's like
Are
they're
you talking about
critiquing
me?
you.
And they stand there, and I look over and they stop. And I go back to what I'm doing.
Well, you heard Sister Melissa today talk about her ducks, right?
It's
Yeah.
she's
so
serious.
true.
Yeah.
And she's actually more serious than Sister Kate.
Oh
but,
yeah.
all you guys who have your man space or your man cave or your whatever, SK has her woman space.
Right. The
And
orchard.
it's our
Y'all know
orchard,
that. You
which
know
is
that.
where, because you do a lot
I
of
do
live
a lot of
streams and videos.
live streams and videos.
But she'll
from
tell
down
me,
there.
I'm going to go feed the ducks.
I'm gonna go feed
Now,
the ducks now,
when
honey.
she takes like her trips away and I'm in charge of everything, it takes me less than 10 minutes to leave my house, walk down, feed the ducks, put them away at night, come back. She'll be gone for an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's her place. We just
Sanctuary.
decided the other day we're going to move benches down there for
Right.
you.
Yep.
She goes down there and she pitters and she putters, and I never go down there because that's her space. And then you took Jay
Yeah.
Mo
Yeah.
on a tour
Yeah.
down there.
Right.
I'm going to brag on my wife. I told her, I said, man, I am so proud of you.
Come on.
You are doing awesome stuff down there in that duck orchard area. She's built like 3 or 4 structures all on her own. She had a little bit of help, but I mean, it was her doing it and she built them, and it's cool. I
It is
want to
cool.
make it nice for you.
It
I
is
think
nice.
it's really cool.
Oh, thank you.
It is
And
nice.
the my ducks are just like your ducks.
Wow, wow.
When I was down there doing that bed put together thing, which if you're a neo pioneer, you got to see a picture of it on the channel. They all had to come up and look at me the same way. They're watching me do it, you know, and a lot of times it's the one eye. They're giving you the one eye and
Yeah.
talking to each other. And they kind of sift around in the leaves as they're looking at it and talking, and then walk away. And every once in a while, mine laugh at me. Like, wah, 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 wah.
Grace Acre said, I love SK's Duck Parade.
And they do it, don't they? Those
Yes.
ducks, they walk
Yeah.
in a line. They all go.
Well, these ducks know her voice. You know,
Oh,
my
yeah.
sheep know my voice and they listen to me or follow me or whatever.
Right.
She can be probably a quarter mile away and about 300 feet in elevation higher on
Yeah.
the mountain, and she'll just talk, and the ducks will hear her and go off. And if she goes, duckers! Like that, oh my, you can hear them from like a quarter mile away because they know it's her talking to them.
Yeah, yeah, it's absolutely true. All that is absolutely true, and they're just fun. People know that.
They are fun. They're fun.
I don't like ducks.
You don't like them, but
There's
so
something
many
about them I
people-
just don't like, but
so
she
many
likes them,
people
so-
see the ducks and start grinning. The waddling.
I think you could have a
Noise.
successful other video channel where you put like a live stream, like 24.
Melissa and I were
A
talking
camera on
about
the ducks,
that.
just
Duck
watching the
cam.
ducks like people do with their cats.
Yeah.
The GoPro on the duck. Yeah.
Or you watch that bison guy.
Right. Could happen. Could happen. Doc, what do you think is a good starting place for medical training for everyone?
Good question.
Excellent question.
From NWA Prepper, who's an excellent medical person.
Yeah, I would. You know what was good? You know, my old son Micah, you know, he expressed interest in going into the medical. I wanted him to learn that. So I thought at that time the best thing that I could probably do is enroll him into an EMT course.
We encouraged our son heavily to go into
Well,
EMT.
he's
Yeah.
in one now.
And he's doing it
Well,
now.
you didn't know that, but Joe's in one right now.
Is he really?
He's
Yeah.
he's
So
doing
keep going.
EMT for his community. Yeah.
So that's what I would recommend, because there you can actually get the hands-on experience, you know, and then you get, you know, through your training.
Right,
You know,
because
we're
it's
looking
one
at-
thing to take a Red Cross first aid
Well, I
course.
was
Right.
gonna say
It's
Red
another
Cross.
thing to take an EMT course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more advanced.
Yeah, Red
Um,
Cross first
you'll
aid
get
would have been my first, like your very basic. If you've done nothing else, Red Cross first aid or Boy Scout badge. But
Yeah.
then right after that, yeah.
Yeah. So I would recommend EMT because you're getting to familiar with medical terminology.
Yep.
You're getting the anatomy. You're learning
Right.
different parts
How
of
the-
the anatomy.
How
She
the
learned
engine
all the
actually
Yeah, you
works.
learn the
'cause
anatomy.
A lot of people don't
you
know
learn
that.
life saving skills. You'll learn the Red Cross.
Right, you learn the
Method.
CPR.
All right, I
and
just came
CPR.
up with a story. I'm gonna tell the Jarls and Berserkers.
Good. I'm glad you've
Hold
been
me to it,
inspired.
Jarls. Go ahead.
So anyway, with that, and then you know, you take your test and you pass. But I think that's a great
Ranked first
first.
in the state when she took her test. Scored the
That's awesome.
highest in the state of Kansas.
On the day that I tested.
You scored the highest in the state of
And-
Kansas.
and-
You always downgrade yourself. Just
Yeah,
own it.
don't
You scored the
own it.
highest.
It was so.
Yeah, and
bad.
then I mean, once you graduate and you pass,
Yes.
you know the test, then you have a marketable skill.
Right,
I mean,
you do have a marketable
You can make money, or
skill.
you don't have to.
Right.
Or you can be the head of the Shofar Mountain Medical Clinic
Right.
until
Well, and-
Doc Jaymo moves in.
Yeah, our niece, she got certified and stuff, and she's actually now a medic on an Amazon shipping site.
Now, is this?
necessarily.
I heard you say that the other day.
Yeah.
Is it like on land and it's like a big warehouse?
Yeah,
thing?
it's like a big
And they
warehouse
hire
facility,
medics
and
there?
they have a medic for that site.
It's because they work their people like slaves so hard that they got to go treat their whip wounds
Yeah.
or something.
It could be
Can't
insurance.
pee, so their bladder bursts and they need an EMT.
Right.
Yeah.
It could be insurance. But I also noticed just in doing some research that Simmons Chicken Factory is now starting to have their own clinic for their Simmons employees. There's
So,
something happening in the
but
medical.
This is between you and me.
and
You
the
should
whole
tell
wide world.
our niece. I'm not
Yes.
going to mention her name right now.
Right.
There are really good jobs offshore on oil rigs
For men.
they hire EMTs
Mhm.
and they pay so much money.
Sure.
And all you're doing is running a little clinic about as big as this room that we're in right now.
Sure.
And they hire EMTs to do that. They want paramedics, but they hire
Do you hear that,
EMTs.
EMTs who need jobs?
Go
High paying
offshore
job.
and they work them like 14 days on, 14 days off, something like that, or
Yeah.
sometimes 28 on, 28
You
off.
get a lot of money.
But they get so much money, like nothing compared to riding in an ambulance.
Right, nothing like working for a
We should tell
ambulance
her
in a
that.
big city. Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's a great way. I mean, to get in. It's not the only way, but I think it's a good,
True.
solid way
I do
Yes.
too.
to
I
do.
agree.
So whether you need a job as an EMT, and you can make money
Right.
doing that, or if you don't, or if you just wanted that skill set, then you can use that for like a volunteer fire department.
Or your church, or with mine, I was the safety officer for a Girl Scout camp. There's a lot of uses. That's a really good point.
Yes, 5 in is fine. Yes,
Yeah.
you will.
All right, very good. I'm here to party, but thanks for the invitation. All right, and what else we got? Workplace injuries are a big deal. I worked at a chicken plant for a year or so. Lots of everyday first aid. Great place to learn as you work.
This
Nice.
is easy, right? See, you're totally normal. You're totally you. It's like I know in the beginning you were kind of nervous, but see, this is
Yeah.
just what you do.
Right,
I mean,
this is it.
and it works.
Well, and this is the live stream side of it. The video side of it obviously is a little bit more like
I think the video side's
instructional.
actually easier because if you don't like it, you just reshoot it.
Right, and you don't have to post it, and you can correct yourself and all
Yeah.
that other stuff. All right, well, it's been 2 hours, guys.
Wow.
Has
We
it
are-
really?
Yeah, we're all exhausted. You can see his
4
eyes
hours of sleep last night. 12 to 4.
starting to get tired. So we're gonna sign off, but we appreciate everyone coming. Thank
Thank
you
you.
to those who donated. You, like we said, if you're in Kentucky and you would like to maybe do this networky thing, you can put it in the comments section, or you can email me at morgan55@hotmail, and we're gonna let him decide, how much he wants to get into that, but it's a possibility. So thank you, everybody, and we're gonna say adios here in a minute. Good night. Thank you. There's Andy.
Das
You
Vidania,
met him
am I
today,
prepper?
Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mrs. Hermit Hill, Kentucky, much love. Looking forward to your channel.
Hey,
your
am I?
channel.
Wait, can I talk to Am I Prepper?
Yeah, definitely. We haven't signed off yet. Go ahead.
Am I Prepper? I was watching some podcast, I don't even remember what it was, and they talked about a series of books. It was a couple agency guys talking about a series of books, and they were saying, I can't believe it got through the review board. And so, of course, I immediately ordered them. And it's Red Sparrow. If you just go to Amazon.com, Red Sparrow, and then there's 2 other books that go with it. And I guess they made a movie that supposedly wasn't very good with Katniss in it. What's her name? Jennifer Lawrence or something?
Yeah, Jennifer
But I
Lawrence.
started reading the book, and the book's really good. And I
Good
was
to see you,
reading,
Clark. And
I was
Keeper.
reading things in there that was like, yeah, I'm surprised they let them put this in there. And at the same time, if you haven't already, I'm watching The Americans, which is very concentrated, if you will. But there's good stuff in The
Going
Americans
forward all of a
on
sudden.
Amazon. So
It's our body language.
watch it,
That's
and
right.
there's Russian in there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. All right, Clark.
Clark, I wanted to talk to you today. I had stuff I wanted to talk to you about, brother. Where you been?
That's right. And Patty Sanchez, looking forward to hearing more about the network. We'll see. We're making no promises. Thanks for supporting the channel. Like the book, The Puzzle Palace, he said.
I read The Puzzle Palace.
Okay, so
Yeah.
he knows. Sabbath question: do use electronics?
Yes.
Yes, that lighting a fire is a fire. It's not turning your computer on. It's yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Shalom, brothers and sisters. And Master Rosa says good night, all. All right, y'all. Bless you. Bless you.
Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom. Welcome, Doc Jamo, somebody said. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. All right. And then you cross out, are you sure you want to stop? Okay. And it'll turn into a video.